one-car effort for most of the K&N West. And so for the series regulars like Sunrise Ford Racing there with the 22 at Custer, and the Bill McEnroe Racing team that has never won here at Sonoma, which is a big surprise, those guys are kind of trying to figure out how are we going to get to these Jefferson pit scores. And there's the driver that had that victory last year from the pole position. Will Rogers has moved over to Matt Levine's racing team this year out of Arizona, and looks like Will Rogers, one of the best road racers in the K&N level. It doesn't seem to really matter where he is, what team he chooses to run for, he's going to be fast.
Yeah, for sure. He's always been strong at the road courses. You see, I've been looking here at the scoring board. David Mayhew up to 14th. He's been making some stuff happen. I think he's going to be really banking on that caution at halfway, though. Obviously, like I said when I came in here, I'm very surprised to see this going green so far. It's a long race, as we mentioned. So all the drivers just gaining experience right now. Them Cup guys do. They're accustomed to longer races, so that should play into their favor.
Well, another driver that's going to be waiting for that break is Haley Deegan. As Deegan now back to position number 9. So it's been kind of a slow start for her. And Justin, when you go into a big race and you have a strong car in qualifying and practice, and then things don't start off the way you like in the first run, how difficult that is to maintain your composure and try to get back into sorts. Because, as we got Travis Milburn in the CART Idaho Ford, has gone off the race course at a very high rate of speed there, coming through turn 1 into turn 2. And that car facing the wrong way, sideways on the track. And don't be surprised if we don't end up with a full course caution. That's a very dangerous place for that 08 car to be. So far, we still see green lights on and just a temporary caution in that part of the racetrack. But Haley Deegan's got to be a driver that is hoping for that break to go in her favor, as this start of the event really hasn't gone her way so far.
No, Haley Deegan is a great talent. She is very cool and collected, and as the caution comes out here, and we got another one around of the 36. So, like I said, Haley is very, very talented. So, as a rookie growing up through the ranks, it was hard for me. You go and qualify, there's a lot of grip, and then you get later into the race, and there's not much grip. You're sliding around, tires are going away. So, she's doing great for how much experience she has, and she's going to be one of the best when it all shakes out, and she keeps getting experience and racing.
Well, Noah Gregson had built up a 2.2 second lead, and now that goes poof. It's gone here on lap number 9 here in the Procore 200 as the 08 of Travis Milburn spinning out, the driver out of Eagle, Idaho, also a graduate of St. Mary's College. That's not far from here in Sonoma, California, with a business degree. His family, the purveyors of Cook's Collision Centers, and now opening up a go-kart course up in Idaho that he's going to be opening up this summer. Kind of his take on the GoPro Motorplex, if you will, and going to have all kinds of celebrity races and things like that. But right now his race looks like it's in trouble as he has the window net down at the top of turn 2. His teammate, the 36 of Ron J out of Canada, also sponsored by CART Idaho, he took a spin through that same area of the race course a few cars later. So we had 2 team cars stopped at the inside of turn 2 at about the same part of the racetrack. So tough break for the 2 of them as our Toyota Camry pace car is going to gather up the number 7 of Noah Gregson. And this should be a rather entertaining restart with Gregson, Priest, Custer, Will Rogers, and it'll be very interesting to keep an eye on the 50 of Daniel Hemrick, restarting from 5th. He's made a few moves, he's moved forward a little bit, and he may have an opportunity to get further up the order when we get things back underway. And it almost appears that that 08 car might be under its own power. It may just be rolling down the hill for Milburn there, but they're going to gather up that number 08 entry. His first time running with a Ford on the car, traditionally a Chevy team, and they're going to figure out what they're going to do with the CART Idaho 08 and get us back in the proper race place for the restart. When we restart, we will have less than 15 laps to go to that all-critical halfway break. Great look at the number 7 of Noah Gregson, and the 47, his Jefferson Pitts teammate Ryan Priest, 22, Cole Custer, and Will Rogers has made his way up to 4th after lining up 8th on the grid here on a beautiful afternoon from the wine country in Sonoma. So, Justin, you learn anything you can use tomorrow from this?
Not yet. There's really not much I can take away. Cup cars are very powerful cars. It's obviously my second time in a Cup car, first time in a road course. So I've just been learning all weekend. Like I said, Swire Motorsports is a developing team, a new team. So I'm just trying to get them on the right path. They gave me a call this week, actually. As crazy as that sounds, said they needed someone to come drive their car. So honored for them to call me up and try to help them out a little bit.
So let's look a little deeper in the order. 6th is Derek Kraus, 7th Austin Dillon, 8th Jim Englebright has overhauled Haley Deegan for the 8th spot. Lawless Allen is 10th ahead of Dale Quarterly. Todd Souza, a local driver here from Aromas, California. This is his 12th K&N West start at Sonoma. He has a trio of 6th place finishes on his resume. Cody Vanderwall, who swept the Tucson Twins last year, led some laps at Colorado, is 13th. David Mayhew has worked his way up to 14th place after starting shotgun on the field, and Billy Kahn out of Arizona is 15th. And notably a little deeper, Jagger Jones is 17th after starting at the rear. The number 9 of Trevor Huddleston, his Sunrise Ford teammate, probably a little bit deeper in the order than he'd like. He's in the 19th position. Another driver that a lot of folks are keeping an eye on is the 99 of Brittany Zamora in that Ineos BMR Toyota. And Brittany rolled off the grid today 24th and finds herself 22nd. So they're just going to make some incremental gains on that one.
Man, it looks like they're trying to push the 08 all the way around the racetrack. So maybe getting off the racetrack now. No, they're still on it. So that is a long way to push a race car around. So yeah,
not sure about that.
Yeah, he's going to be sitting there for a while.
Yeah, not sure about that. We do have the exit of pit road is right where he had stopped, and I guess they elected not to take him the wrong way up the pits. In fact, one of his teammates, hey, a Spider-Man fan in the stands, having some fun here. It is beautiful weather and lots of great amenities here at Sonoma Raceway. They have this beautiful redwood deck overlooking turn 9 that can seat a couple hundred people, and it's so popular they had to hang up a sign that said, hey, you can only hang out here for about a half hour and then let somebody else have a turn, because it's a beautiful place to see the race course. One of the few road courses in America where you can see most of the racetrack from the stands. That turn 9 view, you can see about 90% of the course. Arguably the most critical corner is this exit from the carousel in turn 7. That's about the one thing you can't see from there. Otherwise, that turn 9 stand that you can see above these drivers, a great view of the racetrack.
The hardest part about being a fan at a road course is what corner do you sit at? Road America, Mid-Ohio, a place like that. Circuit of the Americas, you have to go to the most action-packed corner. That's where everyone else is. So, like you said, Sonoma Raceway is a great track because you can see most of it from one position.
Yep, the only other track I've seen with these kind of views is Utah Motorsports Park, but that helps that track is completely flat. So it's very easy to see everything there. Looks like the 93 of Austin Thom is in position for the free pass, driving that number 93 entry for Sherwin Williams in the Chevrolet. So he's going to overhaul the pace car here once we get the one to go and assume his position at the rear of the field. Driver that races late models at Tucson Raceway Park, and he's going to get that car in the proper race place, and we'll get things back underway. It'll be very interesting to see if how aggressive Ryan Preece will be with Noah Gragson on this restart. There's still a long way to go in this event, so that'll be one of the things we'll be keeping an eye on, is just how aggressive they're going to be. And we can see it in the top right of our screen. They did push that 08 all the way around. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
Especially for a K&N team, whatever is wrong with that car, I don't even know what could be wrong with it for it to not fire up. But obviously it still can roll, so they didn't put it on the hook. But for a K&N team, it's going to be super hard to get that thing fixed. Especially, I assume we went at least a lap or 2, maybe 3 down there in that whole ordeal. So bummer day for him.
Looks like 3 laps down for Milburn, and he did enter the event in the top 10 in the points. They are running the entire season. They had a pretty big hiccup at Tucson when they backed into the wall in the first 100, so he had to use his team car in the second 100. It wasn't quite as strong of a car, so they ended up kind of throwing away that weekend, and that's put them a little bit further back in the points than they deserve to be. But Travis Milburn's team they'd probably like an opportunity to climb up onto that car and try to work on it. With the halfway break, there will be quite a bit of time there that they could make some repairs and try to gain some ground if anybody else in the points runs into some snags here as the field still circling behind the Toyota Camry pace car here in the Procore 200. And it looks like there's still lights on the pace car currently, so we'll see if we can get this thing back underway. Great look at the number 19 of Haley Deegan, and she's been in the middle of a little bit of everything this season in car number 19 in 2019, and again here today kind of found herself in the center of a lot of the excitement in the early going of this race. And how impressed have you been by Haley Deegan this season?
Haley's been really impressive, like you said, two wins, and both of them been pretty racy wins. So she's held her own, which is like what she wants to do. She wants to hold her own. So very impressive so far this season. But when I did this K&N race here a few years back, I qualified, I believe, second, third, somewhere around there, and I did fall back to around 10th for the majority of the race. Climbed my way back up through there. So I'd like to see if Haley does climb her way back up there. Especially with this pit stop later, get some fresh tires. It's a long race. You can really think about it. She's got great people around her, so interesting.
So it looks like Gregson's going to be on driver's right for the restart. We saw Austin Thom accept that free pass. He'll go all the way around, and this track's long enough now at 2.52 miles. He may not make it to the rear of the pack before we go green, but he will get back on the well, he will get one lap back. He will not be on the lead lap, but he will gain a lap as the only car running that is a lap down. So according to our scoring monitor, he will now be 4 laps down instead of 3 as the lights are off on the pace car. That's Gregson in the black number 7, Ryan Preece in the 47 in a K&N West race here in Sonoma on a beautiful afternoon. 91 degrees with a nice breeze. Perfect racing weather in the wine country, and they're tightening up all the way through this 32 car field for the restart. It'll be lap 12 at the stripe, halfway to the break. We get this thing back underway.
So this is interesting. Noah's going to be on the outside of the first turn, but he'll get advantage if he can hold his own here into turn 2. So we saw Haley struggle with that on the initial start. So odd lane choice, but looks like he will have advantage going up the hill here and get that inside lane for turn 2.
I believe that's where Haley started, was on driver's right next to Gregson, and she managed to kind of beat him out of turn number 2. So Gregson saw that and thought, I want to do the same thing, and it worked out just according to plan. Will Rogers gets around Cole Custer and goes up into the 3rd position, Hemrick in 5th, and then move up. Austin Dillon is right there in the mix in 6th now as he overhauls both Kraus and Englebright, and he looks like Dillon's trying to go after Cole Custer here as well, as the 36 car of Ron Jay, who had trouble in that part of the racetrack earlier, has left a little bit of a souvenir up there at the top of turn 2. Hopefully we can keep this race green as things are getting awfully aggressive. Exiting the carousel, here comes the 47 of Ryan Preece. He thought about going inside, but Gregson defends the inside and maintains the lead.
This is where those Cup guys and the Xfinity guys will take advantage here. The caution does come out, but they have experience, they have their racecraft, they know how to manage their car a little more than some of the rookies in the K&N series. So restarts and long green flag runs, managing their car, that is where they will succeed. So caution back out. Cautions breed caution, so it'll be interesting to see if it keeps happening.
Well, and Noah Gregson had about the most perfect restart, and now he has to try to do that again. And for Ryan Preece, he's going to try to figure out how he can counter that. He's kind of seen what Gregson's hand is, if you will, and now he's going to try to counter that here on this 2nd attempt. This should be a pretty brief caution period just to gather up that piece of debris off of that 36 of Ron Jay, the Canadian driver from British Columbia, Canada. And there's a good look at Ron's car. Aerodynamics aren't that difficult on a road course, but that still isn't probably what he wants to see, right?
Yeah, aerodynamics are great anywhere. I could go to a short track and tape off every little seam and try to get it as aero as possible, even if it doesn't make any difference. In my head, it would make a difference. So even in my dirt modifieds, I own a dirt modified team, and that's on a dirt short track, and I still care about everything. So it should hinder him a little bit here, taking a little bit of of air off that right front. It's almost like a parachute in sorts to that left front tire. So we'll see how that plays out.
Well, I'll never forget when Dale Earnhardt Jr. won at Martinsville with the whole front end of the car gone, and they figured it helped him keep the tires cool. And this is a track where you're using a lot of brakes, so maybe that little bit will help the 36 make up some ground on the field as everybody's settling down after that frantic restart. A driver that's going to try to grab hold is the 22, Cole Custer. He got a little bit snookered there on that restart. It looks like with the scoring loops that they have actually moved him back up into the 3rd position for this, I'd almost call it a restart, a second attempt here. So there's Cole Custer in that number 22 Sunrise Ford, and we'll see where they end up slotting him. A little bit of discussion going on a little bit deeper in the order. There was a lot of passing maneuvers. As a great view of the elevation here. Something we haven't really gotten to talk about is what we call like the Sonoma roller coaster. It's a 150-foot climb up into turn 2, and then you take that left-hander down the carousel. So it's just like going to Six Flags here at Sonoma Raceway.
You honestly can't feel the elevation as much inside the race car because you're going so fast. There's a lot going on, trying to hit your marks. But sometimes when you do a track walk or whatnot, you will be like, man, there's a lot of elevation here. So adding the carousel this weekend, you have a blind corner going over 6 there, and that's been hard to place your car, know when to lift. If there was a car spun out wrecked there, you wouldn't even know it because it is so blind until you get right over the crest there. So problems here for Brittany and the number 99 car.
Facing the wrong way is Brittany Zamora under caution. She was in 22nd place. Roundabout's where she started in 24th, and actually I'm wrong, she's not facing the wrong way. She's pulled off to driver's left, and that looks like just before the entrance into the carousel perhaps. We'll have to figure out where that spot is on the racetrack for Brittany. That's either at the top of the carousel or the bottom of the carousel, one of the two. There's not a whole lot of left-hand corners here, so those are the two options there. But they're gathering up Brittany's car, and that's a little bit disastrous for her. She had a phenomenal effort at Tucson, was on the podium in that event, and then also ran pretty well at Colorado, came into this race 4th in the points, or excuse me, 5th in the points, with 6 points behind Trevor Huddleston, who himself is not having as good of a day, 19th position right now. So they were kind of running together on the racetrack, battling for that 4th in the overall points. And points are critical in a race like this with this size of car count, as every car counts. So with a 32 car field, you want to be there at the end.
Yeah, for sure. David Mayhew, story, him coming from the back after qualifying, had some issues in qualifying with the transmission. So these restarts are what he likes to see, especially with his experience over the past few years. So he's sitting 13th right now, but I do expect him to gain some positions here on this next restart.
So field is yet to cross up as one sign on Brittany Zamora of her determination to get back into this race is Brittany still has the window net up, and this young driver out of Washington, out of Kennewick, Washington, 19 years old, and a very hard-charging driver, been driving with support from Napa Auto Parts, Toyota, and a new sponsor to the K&N level, Ineos Oil, has been supporting her effort. And likewise with the 08 of Milburn, I would think the BMR Napa crew will do whatever they can to get Brittany back in the event. They do have 5 entries here this weekend with the additions of Lawless Allen and Daniel Hemrick, along with their 3 full-time cars. And they expect to be running 4 cars most of the rest of the season at all the various K&N races with various drivers. Also, the nearest NASCAR home track to us here at Sonoma Raceway is Roseville's All-American Speedway, where I happen to be the announcer there. We stream live on Fans Choice TV, and Bill McAnally Racing is the promoter of All-American Speedway as of last year, so that's been a great venue. A guy that you're really familiar with, Justin Haley, Justin Marks, is racing in our NASCAR late model division there, so lots of excitement out there.
Justin Marks, he picked me out of a selection of people to drive his K&N car. Age got with Justin Marks at the time, and won a championship over there in the E-Series with him in 2016. So back to Brittany, though, in the 99. She, I think, has my old truck crew chief, Kevin Bellecourt, on her car. So he's very talented and obviously has shown some speed with her this past year on the oval. So I hope they're working great well, and Kevin moving to California to work at Bill McAnally, I'm sure that was a big step for him. But I've been talking to him this weekend. He's going to come hang out tomorrow. Such a good guy.
Yeah, and not only is he running her program, he's kind of the manager of the entire shop there for Bill McAnally Racing. So with 4 to 5 cars per event, there's a lot to manage in there, plus their part-time truck team as well. And real quickly, after this event tonight, we've got all kinds of great racing on Fans Choice TV, including Bowman Gray Stadium. The Madhouse is going to be coming up right after this. Also, Kukasa Speedway in Canada, Langley Speedway, the Salina High Banks in Oklahoma, Mashing Valley Speedway in Idaho, Tucson Speedway in Arizona, and rounding out the card will be Alaska Raceway Park, where it just about never goes dark there. They don't even need lights because it stays sunny so late. Here, of course, yesterday was the longest day of the year, the first day of summer. And what a great weekend to open up summer from Sonoma. And once again, Noah Gregson has picked drivers right on Ryan Preece. Let's see if Ryan Preece can try to figure out a way to get around Noah Gregson here.
Yeah, Noah obviously obviously figured out something there. Saw what he liked, and I think the reason why the outside does work is because the 47 can't get a wide arc into turn 1, and it kind of pinches his car off, has to slow it down, it's bound up. So I think that's why the outside lane rolls a little better going up the hill. I do know if you get a little bit too far up the hill to driver's right, there's some bumps. So going back green here to see if he can do it again.
Well, that number 40 car of Will Rogers is going to be kind of rooting on his former team here with the 7 of Gregson to see if he can't follow him through up the inside as they go side by side up the hill. And really nice power move there by Noah Gregson, and that is going to open up the door for the 40 car. Preece goes tires off track on his left to try to sail it into turn 3A as they head off into the carousel. And Preece with a crossover move. This is exciting racing. Here goes Ryan Preece for the lead. That's an aggressive move here early in the race.
Yeah, Noah has to watch out here. You have Will Rogers back there looking at this battle shape up. This is an awesome battle here. 2 wide for several corners, rights and lefts. Looks like Noah will have the advantage, but Ryan will probably have a really good run off this next corner trying to go into 7.
Well, that kind of screwed up Preece's entry into the corner. It's such a fast straightaway, and that puts the 40 of Will Rogers all over the back of him. We'll see if Preece might be able to defend the inside, and it looks like Will Rogers not really able to capitalize on that. Big scrum of cars from 4th on back. Nice maneuver there. Derek Kraus is going to get around the 3 car of Austin Dillon, and Kraus trying to put his head down and go after the 50 car of Dan Hemrick. Top 15 cars are all kind of lined up together. Great racing going on all over the track. Battle breaking out here between Dale Quarterly and the 12 of Wallace Allen. And the intensity level, you would think this is a green-white checker down to the finish. They're all sliding around, dirt flying everywhere here in Sonoma, and everybody makes it through cleanly as looks like Englebright was all 4 tires in the dirt. And when you get dirty tires like that, I was surprised he made the hairpin there.
Yeah, it doesn't do too much of a difference there. You see Dale Quarterly, he's been racing really hard to keep position. Haley Deegan has, she's moved back up the field a little bit. Nice to see that. So this is some crazy racing, especially with 30 quarter cut.
Well, one of the veterans of this field is that 13 of Todd Souza, who, like we said, this is his 12th start just at this track. He's got company from a really cool car, that 35 of Dave Smith. That car obviously looks very much like Brittany Zamora's car because it is a former BMR Napa Toyota in that 35. That car being sponsored by former San Francisco Giant manager Dusty Baker. That's why it's got the big baseball on the hood. So, of course, a lot of folks in Sonoma would like to see Dusty Baker's car go to the front. And Dave Smith was another driver that qualified 12th, gave up his track position, and now he's coming back through the field just outside the top 15.
I don't follow along with the West Series much, so a lot of these names are new to me, but definitely cool to see a lot of young and up-and-coming drivers like I did it a few years back in the field. Austin Dillon there working on Derek Kraus. Derek, I grew up with him racing late models, and he was a little bit younger than me, but I just knew he was so talented, and his family, great family. So it's awesome to see him getting some wins and being competitive. I knew he would be, especially over at Bill McAnally Racing.
Well, this is Krause's third full season in the series, and he still remains one of the youngest drivers. Most of the rookie drivers in the series, such as Zamora and Jones, a little bit older, 18, 19 years old. I know it's crazy to call an 18-year-old an older driver, but that is the case. So Krause, who started in the series at 15, still one of the youngest in the series, and he's dealing with a number 3 car there with Austin Dillon. And anytime you've got a number 3 car in the rearview mirror, that can be a little bit intimidating, if you will.
Yeah, Austin, obviously, I don't think he really likes his car right now, running back there. He hasn't had a whole lot of speed all weekend in that car, in the K&N car at least. The RCR Cub car has been pretty phenomenal. So I've been working with him. He's been teammates with me at College Racing, running the number 10 car. So Austin really puts a lot into it, is racing each and every weekend. He has so much information and provides so much information. And as he bumps the 16 there a little bit, but Austin puts a lot into it. He's very knowledgeable and has a lot of information.
Austin Thom has spun out right onto the entrance of the carousel. He's going to turn that car back around and get underway, but it really looked like Derek Krause backed up the entry by quite a bit into the carousel, and that's what led to that shot from the number 3 of Austin Dillon. I don't think there was any malice there. There was just an opportunity. An opportunity here for Cole Custer and Daniel Hemrick to go side by side. They've done that before in their Xfinity careers. And now Cole Custer 4th to drop Hemrick back to 5th. Cole Custer's been one of our busiest drivers today, trying to hold court for Sunrise Ford. And his other 2 teammates, Jagger Jones 13th, Trevor Huddleston 19th. So for Bob Riccati, who Thursday night was just inducted into the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame, he's got one car that's got a real opportunity to win today, and that's Cole Custer. And now the crossover move from the BMR 50 of Henry.
You do see the top 6 here, excluding Will Rogers, who's a road course ace, are all Xfinity Cup guys. So, heck, man, they came down here and ruined the K&N race, as some people would say.
I don't know if ruining it or making it more exciting. I know most of the young drivers you would talk to in the K&N garage are relishing the opportunity to surround themselves with great drivers. And part of why this race is so important is you get to race in front of those Cup teams and even on the racetrack with some of the drivers that you'd like to race with later on in your career. So for Derek Krause, who's in 7th right now, he is getting a trial by fire, and he has some pretty high aspirations in the NASCAR world. And if he can find a way to figure out how to get that Napa Toyota up to the front to battle with these guys, I think he would relish that opportunity here.
Yeah, for sure.
So the 50 car of Hemrick going through the carousel once again, that high-speed left-hander here on lap number 18, trying to see if he can't reel in the number 47 Ryan Preece and the number 40 of Will Rogers. It's been all Noah Gragson. He built up that 2.2 second lead. The lead is not quite as big this time. It's a 1 second lead on Ryan Preece. It seems like Preece is getting faster with every lap. Arguably one of the least experienced road racers in this field is Ryan Preece. And so to be running second on a field of this quality is probably a pretty good day for the 47 crew.
Road courses drive like short tracks, and Ryan Preece, a lot of short track experience up north, so not surprising to see.
Yeah, this is definitely a track that has that short track feel. You rarely see a car come off the track without a little bit of war paint after these great battles. A bit of a gap has developed here back to 7th position. And in fact, we do not see the 16 of Derek Krause. So we're going to keep an eye on that. There's a bit of a gap that has developed back to Krause, and he's heading into the pits. Derek Krause, we can see, is heading into the pits, surrendering 7th on the racetrack. And we're only a handful of laps away from the break. So whatever went wrong is horrible timing, and another BMR Napa car with trouble.
Yeah, I was about to say that's the second BMR Napa car that it has lost power. It doesn't even appear he's under power there. So Will Rogers getting off the racetrack. That's really heartbreaking for the 16 team, though. He's running great.
So the 16 car of Derek Krause is stopped on pit road, and they're going under the hood. And we are on a road course, so some guys might like to say they're pulling up the bonnet on the 16 of Derek Krause, and they are trying to diagnose that. But disastrous, and this really is going to put Haley Deegan in the catbird seat now. So Haley Deegan, who's running in, well, we got all kinds of activity here. That's Paul Pedroncelli, who had to avoid the 10 of Matt Levine, and we are going under a full course yellow as a result of everything going on.
That's going to help Derek.
It is going to help Derek Krause quite a bit. But all this uncertainty for Kraus, huge for Hailie Deegan, who was only 12 points behind Kraus entering today's race. And if they can't diagnose that car, Deegan has a tremendous opportunity to leave here with the points lead as they run. Looks like the 35 of Dave Smith from nearby Novato, California, who's a driving instructor here at Sonoma, so lots of carousel experience. Looks like he may have had a piece of that incident as well. And they are pushing the number 16 car, and hopefully they can figure out what's going on with that Napa Toyota. Derek's still in the car with his helmet on. The points leader with those 2 wins at Tucson in the rain on very slick tracks. Both races had rain before they went green. It was a rather impressive weekend for Kraus. They left the car as if it was under power, but I don't know that it is, Justin.
No, it's not. I think they're waiting for a push truck at this point. They couldn't diagnose it, and even if they did, obviously the problem has not been fixed. So, heartbreak day for him. You know, that's going to be a 31st place finish, if not worse. So, I definitely think Hailie, if she keeps it on track here, is going to come out with the points lead and a good gap.
It also been a really frustrating day so far for the Sunrise Ford guys. We documented Jones had to start at the rear and has worked his way up to 12th. Well, he was only 18 points behind Kraus, so Jones is going to be in the mix as well. And for Trevor Huddleston, 20 points behind, currently unofficially in the 15th position on the racetrack. So for all 3 of them, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, in what's already a very tight points battle, this is going to tighten it up even further. And this is why Sonoma is so important. These big car counts, a wild card of sorts for the entire series points, and a great opportunity. If you can run well here, it can really pay off for your season.
Similar situation. I'm looking here. Brittany Zamora, when she went under power, she lost power as well. So I think it's a pretty similar situation between those 2 BMR cars. Obviously, Derek Kraus, he lost power, and Brittany did as well. So that could be something to look at with Hailie as well. I mean, she's a teammate, and whoever else, the 50 you said was a VMR teammate as well. So could be troublesome for them guys.
When they got Derek Kraus's car to the end of pit road, we saw him working through his switches, and there was no push truck behind him, and now they've brought him back. Could this possibly be something with a battery or ignition or something like that? What do you think he might have been doing in the car?
It could be a spark plug wire. Usually it'll still run, but not as great. A battery falling out of the thing. Obviously, road courses, you are hitting curbs left and right. There's a lot of action, a lot of wear and tear on the car. So maybe they just didn't build it up enough. It's not durable enough for the high speeds and speed and the impacts that road course racing endures.
Well, we're only a couple laps from the break, and we'll see what NASCAR chooses to do here, because it would set up a very short run to the break if they do elect to restart, and that can make for some wild racing here on Fans Choice TV, as there's some drivers that would like to move forward, such as the 19 of Hailie Deegan, but you also have to kind of pace yourself and realize, hey, we got the break coming up. Just get what you can get. Good view there as they work their way through the S's of the 17 of David Mayhew, who is up to 11th on the racetrack. So things have gone very well for him. He qualified just about middle of the road at 16th. And when he had that qualifying effort, we were down on pit road, and when he passed us, the car sounded very ill. And we never heard officially what the problem is. Heard it might have been a transmission problem or a gear shifter problem on that car, but not official on that. As we see the green flag indicating that the pits are open, I doubt we'll have any takers for that here, as we're just a few laps shy of the break. And once again, it looks like Austin Thom is going to benefit with another free pass, and so now he will end up 3 laps in arrears after being 5 laps down earlier in the event. So the car's single file right now, and will be going back underway most likely on the next go around. Working our way through the Pro Core 200 here at Sonoma Raceway, a pair of 25 lap segments, and Noah Gregson has been close to perfect. And every time he builds up a substantial lead, it gets sort of erased by inopportune caution flags, and he'll lead a group of national drivers. If you're just tuning in, we have 5 drivers from the Xfinity and Cup Series levels. Well, that's your entire top 5 right now, Justin.
Yeah, it is. This stage break, it's not going to mean much for these drivers. There's no stage points on the line like in the National Series. No live pit stops, so it will be hard racing here just to have clean track when the green does come back out. So be interesting to see, but it doesn't really have that much on the line.
Well, and we just saw earlier you were speaking about how aggressive you want to be and talking about the battery with Derek Kraus' car. We got a real good look. Here's a good look at the Sonoma roller coaster, as we call it, with the ups and the downs. But you know, the big thing in those S's is the curbs and how aggressive you want to be on that curbing. Do you try to talk through that with your crew about how aggressive you want to be? Do you try to stay off those curbs early in a run? What's your strategy with that curbing down there through the S's?
Well, it depends on what type of race car you're driving. And the K&N cars have valances, and they have a ride height rule. So Cup car doesn't have a ride height rule. You have a big splitter on the front of it, so hitting the curbs can be a little more damaging to the car. These K&N cars are a little more forgiving, so you can really use them to help the car turn, get up on a curb. That creates an off balance in the car and can help you get around the corner sometimes, especially if you're super tight. So yeah, I mean, it does. You pay the price because it obviously has more wear and tear on the car the more bouncing around you're doing. So it is faster at some points, but it can pay a toll on the car by the end of it.
Well, one of the all-time great racers in road racing in NASCAR, of course, Jeff Gordon, another driver that was inducted into the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame on Thursday, and he was always a driver where his qualifying efforts at Sonoma, they never looked very pretty, but he was always number one on the board because he knew how to use those curbs, how to use every inch of this serpentine course as we wind through the hills of the wine country. And we're getting ready for another restart and another opportunity for Noah Gregson to start on driver's right in that number 7 black Chevrolet, driving for Jefferson Pitts Racing. His teammate today, at least, in the 47, Ryan Preece, with the Clorox colors on the car. The 22 of Cole Custer and the 50 of Daniel Hemrick right behind them. Austin Dillon, Will Rogers, Engelbright, and Deegan, the top 8. Quarterly and Lawless Allen, a very stout top 10 so far. Getting ready for the restart as the lights are off on the pace car. With We Go Green this time will be 3 laps to the break. So we'll see how aggressive these drivers outside the top 10 would like to get, such as the 17 of David Mayhew, the 6 of Jagger Jones. And we're about to see this all unfold here live on Fans Choice TV from Sonoma Raceway.
This will be an interesting restart here. Only a few laps until the stage break. Noah has been making that outside lane on the restart work. But Ryan has been challenging, so you got Daniel Hemrick and Cole Custer back there too. Great shoes as well, so we'll see how it plays out.
Looks like the 7 of Gregson got a little jump on that start. He perfectly timed that. He'll slide across the nose of Preece, but a little bit surprised there. The 22 of Cole Custer did not take advantage of that, and Hemrick's going to go around the outside of Custer and move Hemrick up into 3rd. And the 3-car of Austin Dillon trying to go 2 for 1 on Will Rogers and Cole Custer, but it's going to be real tough if you're on the outside into that entry into the carousel. And Custer really sliding the tires. He'd like a new set of General tires when we go into the break, I think.
Yeah, and here's the thing. There's only 3 laps left, so you can abuse those tires. You can be hard on the guys. You can really hustle the car. So, you can really have a penalty on the tires right now because you're going to get new ones. So that's what makes this restart even interesting. Is Noah hasn't been able to quite pull away.
Yeah, so Ryan Preece now gathers it up and is staying within arm's length of Noah Gregson. And the battling is from 4th on back there with that very sideways 22 of Custer, the 3 of Austin Dillon, the 40 of Will Rogers, and Haley Deegan getting a bit aggressive, and a battle for that 10th spot from 11th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, all kind of together on the track, sort of all sorted up, and that's the 12 of Lawless Allen in that bright blue number 12. And he got a little bit of help from behind from the 6 of Jagger Jones through the S's, and that car was completely sideways. And we'll see if these guys make it through 11 and 12 cleanly here. Very aggressive driving for a couple of young drivers, and Gregson has gone into the pits and I'm not sure what the strategy is there, or if he has an emergency problem on the car.
No, I would say that's an aggressive strategy. Obviously, Noah has head speed. He doesn't have anything to lose, so I would expect him to come get 4 tires, but that's not really something you would see in the K&N series, so I'm definitely surprised by it. He's under power. I don't think he's broke, so I think he's just going to come get 4 freshies and be on his way.
Well, our understanding was you can take 4 tires at the break, so we'll have to find out the game plan there for Noah Gragson. There is a possibility on the rules that I may not be aware of that we can kind of talk about as we go into this. In fact, he's come right back onto the racetrack, and we don't have any intel with race control of any kind here, but that appeared that may have been a pass-through with Ford 7 and Noah Gragson. So we're going to work on getting some information on that. Looks like that was a drive-through for the 7 for whatever reason.
Very possibly could have jumped that restart.
Yeah, he did
had
get ahead
a really
early.
good restart. That's the only possibility I can think of is jumping that restart. Obviously, devastating for him because he had such control of this race and coming in. Even if he would have pit right there, and he would still had to have pit under the stage brake, so there would have been absolutely no advantage. So my best guess is that would have been Astor, like you mentioned.
So great battle here. A couple of great names here. Lawless Allen, that is his birth name, Lawless. We have another driver in California that's not in the K&N series whose birth name is Racing. So we have a Racing and a Lawless in California. But that number 6 of Jagger Jones, who almost won at the Vegas Dirt Track this year, that's the grandson of the great Parnelli Jones. So we got a couple of drivers with a lot of potential in NASCAR, and they're putting on a great race for the Sonoma fans for 10th as we work our way towards the break. And it looks like Jagger, he's got the moves like Jagger and a little bit more hockey stuff there, a little hip check through the hairpin there.
Yeah, those two have been battling hard. That 12 car's been sideways pretty much this whole last restart, so Jagger finally getting by, has the faster car. We're going to take advantage going into the break here.
I believe both these drivers were at Irwindale last year in late models. Lawless Allen won the title there. Jagger was in the top 5 in the points. So these guys are friends. They've raced together quite a bit, and there's going to be a lot of smiles with how hard they're racing. They would really like to beat their good friend there from Southern California. So back up front, Ryan Preece. He is still driving pretty aggressively as we head towards the break. He had all the wheels up on the curbing there, and maybe feeling a little bit of pressure because Daniel Hemrick has closed up on it.
As a driver right now, this is the end of a run, and you're going to have to do the exact same thing this next run after you get tired. So whoever's fastest at the end of this run will probably be the fastest at the end of the next run, which will mean the checkered flag. This next one, it's just a stage break. So Daniel Hemrick managed his car well, has cool brakes, cool tires. Then the 47 has been able to close his gap a little bit. So the 47 will have to take notes here. You have to manage his car a little bit better. He did work on Noah there pretty hard for a while, so I expect them to be pretty hard racing here on fresh tires after this break.
Well, we did confirm it was a drive-through penalty for a restart violation for Gragson, and with all of his experience running in the National Series, that one has to hurt, and it's going to make for a pretty exciting run to the finish. He's already up to 24th the last time around, and we expect he'll be right up into the top 20 at this time across the stripe as the drivers nearing their way to the halfway break. As they cross the stripe now, the 47 Preece still leading the way. Looks like we'll be going another lap before they accept the break. Preece, Hemrick, and the battle is on for third. Cole Custer and Austin Dillon. Dillon all the way up on the curbing, trying to get alongside of Cole Custer.
Austin Dillon didn't like his race car early. He was running back there in around the 10th spot, and just like Hemrick, late in the run, as he gives a bumper to Cole Custer, he has found speed. So be curious to see later in the run how they get going.
Oh, and that's the 43 of Cody Vanderwall, who has been trying to get himself up to the front of the field, led some laps in Colorado, a 2-time winner in this series last year in Tucson when he swept the Twin 100s, and the Colorado driver going to right the ship on the 43, but a heartbreaking incident for Vanderwall, who was in 13th. So he's going to give up a ton of track position. Here goes Austin Dillon. It's about the final lap to the break, and he figures, I'm going to go for it. And Custer gives him a lot of racing room there. I don't think that Custer will be so forgiving later in the event.
Yeah, Custer did give a lot of room there to Austin Dillon, but he played it well enough that he kept in front of Will Rogers there. So he's just playing it cool, waiting for the break, get 4 fresh tires, and go back at it.
So Austin Dillon finding out how strong that passing spot would be on the exit of the carousel. Some thought maybe with that little jog to the left that it wouldn't be as great of a passing spot this weekend, but that's why you run the Saturday race, to find things out like that. So Dillon goes to third. We see Will Rogers now is going to try to get a piece of Cole Custer for fourth, getting all they can get here coming down to the break with the 19 of Deegan also making a move there on Jim Englebright, as this thing very intense right now, very intense racing.
Haley fell back early, but she has worked her way back up. She's been learning on those older tires and finding out how racy these guys are. So like I said, I did expect her to fall back a little bit, but she has rebounded and she is moving back forward.
Well, it's perhaps someone has let her know on her radio from the crew, you know, this is a great opportunity for you. You know, your two teammates that are battling with you in the points right now, it looks like Kraus has got back on the racetrack, but he's 3 laps down. Zamora has not returned to the racetrack in 29th, 13 laps down. So there's an opportunity for her to pick up quite a few points on this field. So I think there's an incentive there to be a bit more aggressive, and very little for her to lose, because with Kraus in 27th, she would have to have things go quite a bit wrong, as we do see the yellow flags being displayed on the track to bring us to that halfway break. They let the whole field complete that lap before going into the break, and Ryan Preece, sitting right where he would like to be in his first Sonoma weekend, leads the Pro Core 200 for the K&N Pro Series West. Round number 6 out of 14 in 2019 for Ryan Preece, leading Daniel Hemrick, Austin Dillon, Will Rogers, and Cole Custer. The top 5 cars. Englebright will rank 6th ahead of Deegan, Dale Quarterly, David Mayhew up to 9th, the 2015 winner, and Jagger Jones rounding out the top 10. Obviously, the big surprise is just in the troubles for Zamora and Kraus. Any other surprises for you so far here in the first half?
Well, the biggest surprise is Noah Graxton. Like I said, he didn't lose that much. He's sitting in 17th right now, but I'm not really sure. He has a fast car, so I don't know if he can make it back up to the front in 30 laps. This race has gone pretty green. There's been a few cautions every once in a while, so that'll be probably the biggest story here when we do go back green. Is him moving back forward. He will be aggressive. I think Noah's one of the more aggressive drivers, so like anyone, they want to win, so be pretty interesting.
Interesting to see what kind of adjustments these drivers make. Looks like Deegan and Custer were both fighting some pretty loose race cars. I know loose and tight aren't really quite the terms that come into play on a road course, basically, but those two cars were getting a little bit sideways there throughout the run, and I think those two would like to tighten them up a little bit.
Yeah, and when I ran K&N, under the stage break, there's 5 minutes, I believe, where you can do anything you want to the car. You can change shocks, you can change a sway bar if you want, you can change tires, so you can adjust them on a little bit, but normally as a driver, unless it was a real short track or something, you keep it pretty neutral, because the worst thing to do is ask for something as a driver, and then you get back out there and it's even worse than before. So it's definitely difficult sitting in the driver's seat. And a lot of these K&N guys don't have a lot of experience, so I think that's why you see the top 5 are pretty well-experienced guys. So
we've had a lot of late rain here in California, and we need some help, some horsepower, if you will, to take care of the grass up there. So we have some organic ways of doing that up at the top of the hill. And of course, lots of fans here at Sonoma soaking in the atmosphere. The big NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series event tomorrow, the Toyota Save Mart 350 that you'll be racing in, Justin. And I know a lot of drivers that we talk to rank this Sonoma Raceway as one of their favorite places to go, not just because it's a great racetrack, but also the great weather, all the fun things to do around the wine country. How much do you enjoy being here in the wine country?
Yeah, Sonoma Raceway, it's one of the best. It's not one of the funnest racetracks to go to, because it's 9 hours of flying from the East Coast to the West Coast, so you have a whole day out of your schedule to fly in, but it's definitely one of the better road courses that we go to, and I'm really excited. Like I said, I got the opportunity to come out here. I didn't think I was going to be racing it, but Spire Motorsports called up, and very thankful that I get to come back out here for my second trip.
The world-famous racetrack, the 50th year of racing here at Sears Point, the Sonoma Raceway, and the drivers getting ready for the halfway break here in the Pro Core 200 for the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West. So we'll be seeing these drivers coming down pit road here in just a few moments, looking for 4 General Tires. And of course, General Tire was a part of the ARCA series for a couple of years, and now they've, with the transition with ARCA and K&N coming together in 2020, this is the first road course on the NASCAR banner with General Tires. And we've had a few cars get off track. There's a little bit of dust and dirt sometimes here at Sonoma Raceway. And I think you'd have to agree, Justin, the tires have performed perfectly. Haven't seen anybody with any tire problems today.
Yeah, no tire issues so far here at Sonoma Raceway. They do look like they've stayed grippy. I'm not in the driver's seat. Obviously, I'm in an air-conditioned studio up here calling the race, but they look like they're a blast to drive on for sure.
So a big day for Fans Choice TV as we get into the halfway break. We're all looking forward to the broadcast that immediately follows our broadcast. Is going to be the Madhouse Bowman Gray Stadium with Derek Perlasiglio and Jesse Punch on the call for that one. And the Madhouse, there's nothing, I mean, you think the hairpin here at Sonoma is crazy. The Madhouse is a couple of those, and that's the whole racetrack. So that's going to make for some great viewing. A 100-lap NASCAR modified race today for the Whelen All-American Series Modified. So, Justin, we'll have to get you into one of those modifieds soon.
That would be fun, but I like to stick to my dirt modifieds on the dirt track. So I raced at Bowman Gray one time in a K&N car with H. Scott with Justin Marks, and I believe I finished second or third. I'm not sure. I've been bouncing back and forth where I finished here at Sonoma. So I think one and done's enough for me. I think I'd rather go watch.
You'd have to stick a baseball underneath the gas pedal to not use too much of that horsepower on a track of that size. As we see all the drivers coming in for their service, and they'll release the crews once everybody has come to a complete stop. A lot of the local drivers are all kind of pitted together there with the 68 of Rod Nealand, who's from the area, the 51 of Carlos Vieira, and another driver with a lot of experience here that's from the area, Paul Pedroncelli, who races in pavement modifieds throughout California at the NASCAR Whelen tracks, sponsored by his family's mobile wine bottling business, where they come straight to the vineyard and bottle it for you right there in the truck. So talk about a very Napa-themed sponsor on that car. And you see the officials are still holding the teams until it's time. And of all the drivers to focus in on, Ryan Preece, he's probably not too worried about that. He doesn't need a whole lot. Give me 4 good ones, and I'm ready to go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see here if they do any adjustments, put a string rubber in it or whatnot. So Ryan obviously has had a really solid day. You see Noah there. They haven't even gotten to that car, jacked it up yet. So I wonder if he's even going to finish the race. I mean, he's got nothing going for him at this point. Everything's kind of gone south.
So before we got into this broadcast, we were just sort of reminiscing back on some of the previous events this year, including at Tucson a Twin 100, where they had the opportunity to work on the cars in between the 100 lappers, and Derek Kraus won the first 100 lap race, and when he got ready for the second 100, all he wanted was tires. He said, don't touch the car at all. And so I think you're going to see a very similar strategy for some of the other drivers like Ryan Preece in this one. As a good look at the 17 of David Mayhew. His crew's working hard.
Yeah, for sure. And you see Noah there. He got fuel first, and the hood's up from the Austin Dillon car, so maybe they're just trying to cool the motor, cool the brakes a little bit. But you see basically here in the shot, it's the top 3 guys.
Yeah, they're all together there on pit road. All those national guys getting to pit in front of the garages where they'll have their Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series cars waiting for them tomorrow. Tomorrow's race is a pretty long one at 350 kilometers. Today, the Pro Core 200 kilometers. So, it took us about an hour here to get to the halfway break. So tomorrow, you're in for a pretty long race. What do you do to strategize for that as far as your body goes? You got any game plans for hydration and things like that?
Oh, no, we're just going to load and go. Have some H2O, maybe Gatorade, and we'll see how it plays out. Maybe some of the other guys that are running a little closer to the front, they might care a little bit more. But I care. It's just tomorrow is going to be one of the longer races that I've had, especially in Sonoma. It's so hot out here, it's so dry. This is a completely different environment than what I'm used to on the East Coast, and coming out here with time change and everything, it's definitely difficult on your body. I know I've been going to sleep at at 6 out here, which is actually 9 back home. So it's been definitely difficult. That's why some of the guys come out here, on Monday to try to get acclimated.
Yeah, well, they also try to get acclimated with that Sonoma wine as well. So I know it's always a very fun, festive week. Like we said, we spent Thursday at the West Coast Stock Car Hall of Fame banquet, where a lot of drivers that have a lot of Sonoma Raceway success were in attendance. And that was an excellent opportunity to kind of get to see a lot of these K&N drivers all dressed up in their suits and ties and enjoy a nice evening together. And there were a lot of other big banquets and festivities around. A lot of attention being played to the left rear of Haley Deegan's car. And remember, we thought maybe on Derek Krause's car that could have been a battery issue, and that is where the battery is located on these cars. So I wonder if they're just making sure everything's okay on the other BMR cars.
Yeah, there's a lot of attention on everyone's car. I mean, everyone's asking for adjustments. You see Ryan Priest there for a second. He was getting worked on, and as well as Austin Dillon. So a lot of guys are asking for adjustments and trying to get their cars better here for the second run.
And one of the cool things with this event, when a lot of these West Coast-based teams like Jefferson Pitts and Bill McAnally expand to 3, 4, 5 cars, well, you got to find lots of people. So you end up with a lot of pit crew members that are short track racers in their own right in the NASCAR Whelen Series. In the case of Bill McAnally Racing, we talked earlier that he's the promoter of All-American Speedway. He has some of his tech crew, his flagman, a lot of people like that working on some of the race cars this weekend just so he has enough bodies. So a lot of guys that spend time at the Whelen level getting to kind of graduate, and this is a big event and a big opportunity for a lot of them to get to be in the pits at Sonoma. So very cool to see that, as they're paying a lot of attention to the front ends on a lot of these cars. We saw both Noah Gregson and Austin Dillon. They're kind of pulling the fenders away because they know now this set of tires we just gave you, it's got to go all the way, because every other tire in the pits has laps on it. So they have the set they practiced on, and they did run a lot of practice laps. The set they just ran 25 laps on, and then the fresh set that was just put on the car. So if any of these guys have any tire trouble from here on out, they're going to have to use a set of tires that has already been run for 50 or 60 miles. So they'd like to get all that fender work away from the wheels. Looks like the break is just about over. Just getting Dale Quarterly's car back underway. His car is still stopped there right behind Paul Pedroncelli's car. So they're going to roll away with those bright yellow wheels on Dale Quarterly's car. Gotta love that.
He had bright red wheels before the break, so maybe yellow's a little better luck.
Yeah, maybe that's the second half wheels, second half luck there for Dale Quarterly, and they probably worked a little bit on the body work on that car. He had some of the bigger dings.
He definitely had a lot of body work issues. So that's what's cool about the 5-minute break, is you have 5 minutes to think about it. On a normal NASCAR pit stop, you've got 15 seconds or however long you can stay out there without getting lapped down. So especially with that steel body car, they're a little harder to get back into shape and fix up. So looks like they did get everything pulled away from the tires, all the fender wells, and be back out.
Yep, so all the teams this year are using either the one-piece fiberglass body or the new 5-star Generation 6 style body. And those are the two bodies remaining in the series. Now, if you've never seen a K&N West race, and you saw them kind of come out of the pits in kind of a haphazard order, it doesn't matter how they exit the pits. They can exit in whatever order they'd like, but they're going to end up lined up the way they were when we made it to the breaks. That's why you see Todd Souza in that 13 car, the Central Coast Cabinets Toyota, another driver where most of his pit crew do their own weekly racing when they're not with him. You can see him pulled over to the side of the road because he'll be restarting 12th. So he would like to have pulled up right behind the Toyota Pace car and be in the position to lead him down, but he'll have to restart in his proper race place. And we're starting to have a little bit of a Sonoma Raceway traffic jam there through the S's.
Yeah, it's definitely not the most efficient way to do it, but it's the only way to keep costs down and not have live pit stops. It's the best way for the K&N series. So, yeah, it definitely is a little messed up over there. There's a lot going on. So as a driver, that can be hectic for sure.
Yeah, and after all that work to massage the body work, you would hope that somebody doesn't pull out a line at the last moment. There are no turn indicators on these cars, no brake lights. They do have defoggers and windshield wipers required on all NASCAR road racing cars, including the K&N cars at Sonoma. Of course, we're under no threat of rain today. It's absolutely beautiful weather, Chamber of Commerce weather, if you will, here in the wine country. We have had incidents before on pit road involving NASCAR cars with guys kind of running into each other, not knowing what the guy in front of them was going to do, and so you hope not to have that happen. And it looks like everyone's in their proper race place, and we're going to get this thing back underway.
Be interesting to see if Ryan Priest does take the outside. He's been on the inside for the past few restarts, so I suspect to see him take the outside lane here, which will line Daniel Hemrick up on the inside and Austin Dillon there in third place on the outside. So be pretty interesting to see on this start. The 47 hasn't had control of any start. No one's had control of any start except Noah Gragson.
Well, in every start that he's had, he's restarted from driver's left and has seen Gragson pull away from him. Now it looks like he's indicating that he wants to be driver's left, and we'll see if it really kind of looks like that's where he's going to go. And I'm a little bit surprised by that. As a big hello to all of the NASCAR on Fox guys, and nice to see them here at Sonoma Raceway. Of course, this is kind of the farewell for DW here. So thanks to Daryl for all of his great work, both as a driver and in the booth. And that was one of the big events that was going on this weekend on Thursday, along with the Hall of Fame. I understand there was a big going away party for Daryl.
Yeah, so I know we all are running DW stickers. At least on my Cup car, I got one on the A-post, so pretty special, all he's done for the sport.
Yeah, it's amazing to think back of some of his tremendous runs, of course, winning by several laps at Nashville, and that's back in the day when you were elbows up. Nashville, a very tough track, arguably probably tougher than even Bristol is, and it'll be really exciting if it comes to fruition and they can get some National Series racing back at Nashville in the Music City, right in the heart of town at the State Fairgrounds there. And Lord knows if they do that Daryl will definitely find a way to be there one way or another, because that was the track that he really became famous at. So those NASCAR home tracks are where it all happens, and we're glad to have those NASCAR home tracks, many of them live on Fans Choice TV every weekend, where you can see the exploits of a lot of these young drivers as they work their way up the racing ladder. One of those drivers that came from the NASCAR home tracks world was that number 22 of Cole Custer, who did most of his development at Irwindale Speedway and at Kern County Raceway. Fun fact for California racing fans, the grand opening at Kern County Raceway on May 14th, 2013 was won by Cole Custer. So he has a lot of great history in California. That was in a NASCAR Division I late model, and now here he is trying to get another California victory at Sonoma Raceway.
Yeah, Kern always looks very interesting. Looks like a fast place. I've always wanted to race there, never had the opportunity, so maybe in my later years here I can get a late model ride or something out there to run, but definitely looks fun.
Yep, that will be the penultimate race for the K&N Series this year, the last weekend of October, and it will be the October Classic, an event that was very famous at the Mesa Marin Raceway before it closed, and now they'll move 25 miles across Bakersfield to Kern County Raceway Park for the October Classic. Always a race that drivers want to win. Of course, Mesa Marin, another track where NASCAR home tracks drivers moved up the ranks. In that case, Kevin Harvick, a former champion of Mesa Marin Raceway in the late models, did that at the young age of about 16 years old, when back then that was considered very young to be in a late model car. And take a look at this. Looks like Ryan Priest has chosen driver's right. He's going to take the Noah Gragson lane up the hill, and that's going to put Dan Hemrick on the left. And we'll see who can win that battle up the hill into turn 2.
Yeah, that inside lane is definitely the favorite here on restart to Sonoma, so no surprise there.
So even though it was a halfway break, and there aren't a whole lot of rules of what you can do, the 77 of Takuma Koga got dinged for improper fueling. So don't know if they were using a crew member with the wrong gear on, don't know if they need a helmet or a bib or something like that, but improper fueling. So instead of restarting in 25th, he's going to restart in 27th at the back of the lead lap there. For
not too big of a penalty.
No, but it's awesome having a driver from Nagoya, Japan racing with us in Joe Nava's number 77. and actually ran within the top 10 for a while in the first Twin 100 at Tucson and looked pretty good. So it's been great to see him improve race after race. So once again, we get a look at this restart order, and pretty soon Ryan Preece is going to have the best opportunity to try to lead this field up the hill. The field's starting to close up. Englebright in the number 1 ride has worked his way up to 6th, one of the few drivers here with experience in NASCAR stock cars on the carousel, trying to use that experience for the run to the finish. Those laps coming out of the break counted, so this will be lap 29 at the break, 21 to go here in the Procore 200, and gotta be careful there. It looked like Preece might have been just as early as Gregson was. We'll have to see what NASCAR thinks of that, as he has a 2-car length lead on Hemrick up the hill.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Ryan really backed up the field, slowed him down there, so it almost looked like he brake checked everyone, and Hemrick spun his tires, so maybe that's where it came from. I'm not sure if he took off quite as early, but definitely something to look at.
Austin Dillon being a little bit aggressive with the front end there as he battled with Will Rogers. Here comes Jagger Jones. Jagger feeling good. He's making a move up the inside of the 32 of Dale Cornerly, and that is for 7th thereabouts on the racetrack. They have both gotten around Haley Deegan, and Deegan's in a little bit of trouble here. She's been passed by a couple of cars, and now she'll have David Mayhew, who's going to have the inside line on her. And it looks like Deegan's going to give up 3 spots on this restart, a tough restart for her.
Yeah, she's got those newer tires, a little bit on the valence there, drove in really deep into turn 7A and B there, so she's just got to regroup. Like I said, sometimes earlier in this race, you know, she got passed by a few cars, so she regroups and she does pull back together very well. So David Mayhew started at the rear. He's been working his way through the front. Been a storyline all day. So another thing to look at here is Noah Gregson. He's improved his position quite a bit, so it'll be interesting to see where he ends up at the end of this lap.
Oh, we got a car all the way off in the dirt. I believe that's the number 1 of Englebright, and he's going to have Quarterly looking underneath him, and all 5 of these cars are all spread out 2 and 3 wide around the racetrack, and then a little trio of cars behind them, including that number 7 you just talked about, Gregson. And it looks like the 6 of Jagger Jones is the guy kind of on the move right now, trying to make some moves. So Jones has the inside on Englebright up the hill, and trouble for the 36 car of Ron J. once again in the hairpin. Right as we saw Englebright and Jones make a bit of contact through turn 2, side by side here. Gregson, that's a tough place to make a pass. Noah Gregson just got around Todd Souza.
Especially on the outside there. Obviously, he's got a very fast car, so he's been aggressive, and now he works on Haley Deegan, but they're 3 wide going into 7 there. That's really aggressive.
Jim Englebright was off the track in turn 10. He was off the track on the entrance into the carousel. He has damage on both the front and the rear of that car, and they are all right together there. Contact. Jones into the back of Englebright, almost backed them up into Deegan and to Noah Gregson. And look at all the damage on the front end of Jagger Jones's car, and that could spell trouble. It is a warm day here, 91 degrees, and things are all crazy right now here in the middle of the order. More contact, 3 wide. Gregson would like to get out of there pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. Even if that thing does stay cool here on Jagger Jones's car, it's a big parachute there towards the front end. Noah's been very aggressive getting back up to the front. He just knows he has a good race car, and if the thing does go green, it's going to be really hard for him to make it all the way back up there.
I think you can tell the intensity level is picked up, Justin, here in the second half of this race. Mayhew pacing this group of cars side by side into the hairpin. A couple of side-by-side battles. Gregson's going to go up the inside of Englebright. Deegan up the inside of Jones. Remember earlier, Jones had that tooth and nail battle with Wallace Allen. Jones manages on the outside to fend off Haley Deegan as more battling up the hill here. There goes Noah Gregson. He will go up to 8th place ahead of Englebright. So he's up to 8th. Has he used up too much to get to 8th though?
These General tires have been pretty durable. We've seen all day. So I don't think he's really been abusing them that much. He's definitely been abusing that car though. So if it stays together for this whole run, that'll be very impressive.
Looks like Ryan Preece still the race leader. Looks like that restart was deemed acceptable so far by race control. Daniel Hemrick second, Will Rogers third, and Dirt and dust flying, the 86 of Tim Spurgeon in the middle of that. A local driver out of Danville, California. And great to have him out here again in the K&N West. And they are all kinds of side-by-side, 2 and 3 wide in that pack of cars. Up front, Daniel Hemrick has reeled in Ryan Preece and has him in the crosshairs as they wind their way through the S's down into turn 9 once again. And Ryan Preece, you've got company. It's Dan Hemrick.
It's very interesting to see Daniel Hemrick found speed there towards the late, so he may have found a little trick here and there. Started using a curve that he wasn't before, but he definitely has found speed the last few laps.
I think both of these guys are probably learning a lot that they're going to apply to tomorrow's Toyota Saymart 350. So very impressive efforts by the two of them, who do not have very many K&N starts under their belt. As Noah Gregson now going to get around the 17 of David Mayhew and go up into position number 7 for car 7. Smoke billowing out of the back of the 13 of Todd Souza, and we see that the yellow lights are on for the 13 of Todd Souza out of Aromas, California, the Central Coast Cabinets Toyota. And tough break for the 13 ride with 3 6th place finishes in this event. And that is not good news to see that smoke billowing out of the 13 car, Todd Souza.
Yeah, definitely an oil leak or some sort of engine issue there for the 13 car. So he was running pretty well.
And indications are he's going to make that hard left-hand turn and go straight to the garage. So his afternoon is likely over. And we'll see what they end up doing with the 13 of Todd Souza as we slow things down here on lap number 32. Ryan Preece was facing increased pressure there from Daniel Hemrick, and now they'll restart side by side with Will Rogers and Austin Dillon restarting behind them. Cole Custer and Dale Quarterly rounding out the top 6. And now this tightens things up for Noah Gregson in car 7 for Jefferson Pitts Racing, who will restart out of position number 7. And this will be his opportunity to try to grab some track position and make some moves up towards the front.
This was a big break for that 7 car of Noah Gregson. Obviously getting the field tightened back up. He's got a super fast race car. Was really aggressive on those tires. So we'll see if he does have the speed that he did at the end when he was leading. But how about Dale Quarterly? He's holding his own up there in 6th place. I don't know why, but I like his style. I like, he brought an old car here. He doesn't race all that often. He got a K&N win in 2003 at Lime Rock Park. Yep. I mean, the guy's just cool.
Yeah, I think he loves this road racing competition and probably feels 10 years younger right now with the way he's driving, and definitely a lot of credit to his preparation to be here today and to be running up front amongst so many high quality teams. For the 17 of David Mayhew, who's right behind him in the 8th position, that's a brand new car for that team. And teams like Jefferson Pitts that have most of their cars in the top 10, a team with a lot of experience here and a lot of wins. And so for Dale Quarterly to tow all the way out from Massachusetts and run up there in the top 10, there's definitely a lot to be proud of for that team.
That's a long haul.
That's a very long haul. You were complaining about a 9-hour flight earlier. Try driving a race car from Massachusetts.
Well, he didn't drive a race car from Massachusetts. I mean, obviously it was loaded into a hauler, so, but definitely a long drive.
So they were putting down some dry sweep there from the 13 of Souza, and that's in our fastest corner here is turn 10. So they're going to do all they can here at Sonoma Raceway to get that dry sweep cleaned up and make for some clean racing, because that is a very high-speed section of the racetrack and an area where there is not a lot of room for error. It almost resembles a street course with tire barriers and walls both on your left and your right. And Justin, if you get it wrong in turn 10, it can go real bad.
Yeah, and it's really easy to wheel hop there. Obviously a really sharp corner, so it's a tricky corner for sure, especially on entry there. Your left side door is very close to the tires, and then your right side door is very close to the tires in the middle of the corner. So it's one of the more fun corners, though. It's a good passing zone, and it's a good TV corner. There's a lot of action that happens there.
Yep, excellent place to see the race on TV or here at Sonoma Raceway to keep an eye on turn 10. So Derek Kraus running around in 27th, 2 laps down. tough break for him is that there are a couple other cars laps down, so we will see who gets the free pass. I don't believe it will be Kraus, and so we'll confirm that here shortly when we see whoever the free pass car will be. We'll be able to pull behind the pace car and get a lap back. If Kraus was able to time it right, he could possibly leapfrog to the lead lap before this thing is over, being only 2 laps in arrears. So we'll keep an eye on that Napa Toyota. And of course, that's the big storyline because he entered this event only 12 points ahead of Haley Deegan. Haley running in 11th, Derek running in 27th. So as they run right now, Haley Deegan would leave here with the points lead. So a lot is going to change as a result of this race. Following this event will be round number 7 for the K&N West, where they go up to Roseburg, Oregon, Douglas County Speedway next Saturday, in fact, June 29th. And that's a flat track, about 4/10 of a mile. They bill it as a half mile, but it's a short track, almost completely flat, no walls in the corners, a very unique place to race up in the forests up there in southern Oregon, and that's coming up next weekend for the K&N West.
His car lights are still on here, so maybe we'll restart, maybe we won't. Usually they turn pace car lights off here a little later in the course. Will be interesting to see. Obviously the 47, I think by now the leaders have taken the outside lane, and he's still going to have Hemrick to his inside. So he played some games with Hemrick last restart. We'll see if he does again.
So it looks like with Souza in the pits, and they have updated.
That is a lot of oil dries.
It is a lot of oil dries. That's part of why we're still under yellow here. It looks like DeLong, Nealand, and Ron J have all been updated as lead lap cars on our scoring monitor. And it appears that the 16 of Derek Kraus is going to get the free pass, and that will put him only 1 lap behind. So that's how you go from being a race winning team to a championship winning team, is when you try to work through trouble and you try to minimize the damage. And if he can get back through, get to the lead lap, get a solid finish, that would be almost season saving for that Napa Toyota team. So they're getting that thing turned around today.
It's all luck of the draw. When you're a few laps down and you're having a rough day, where the cautions fall when they don't, it's definitely luck of the draw. So obviously the cautions have fell towards Derek's way so far. This has been pretty racy, and I don't expect it to get any less racy, probably more racy. So maybe cautions breed cautions. And Derek has a very high possibility. This is still 17 laps of racing. That's a lot here at Sonoma Raceway.
It is a lot, but it looks like the restarts have been crucial for track position, almost familiar to like what we see at Fontana, the other NASCAR oval in California, where the restarts are always kind of a mad scramble, and then things kind of settle down from there. And so you try to get a piece of what you can on the restarts, and a couple of guys like Noah Gregson, David Mayhew, Jim Inglebright, and Jagger Jones, those drivers from 7th through 10th, are going to be pretty highly motivated to grab a piece of Sonoma Raceway here on the restart. So drivers working their way behind the pace car, and I'm sure they're screaming at their spotters right now that they want to see that thing nice and clean through turn 10 before we elect to drop the green flag and get it back underway. Ryan Priest coming out of those modifieds, and Justin, you talked about that Sonoma kind of race is like a short track, lots of contact, side-by-side racing, but those NASCAR modifieds, those events not too terribly long, typically 100 lap, 125 lap races, whole different mindset when you're running for 2 hours plus for 50 laps on a road course.
Yeah, it is. The biggest thing at road course racing is managing the car, managing the brakes, managing the tires, clean shifts all day. You got to have a great transmission, great motor, so keeping it cool. When you do have drivers going on and off track, that puts debris onto the racetrack, and that debris, grass, whatnot, can get onto the radiator opening, the grill screen, so that can cause your temps to run a little hotter. It can also get onto the ventilation on the front of the grill for brake cooling, so even your brakes can get overcooked, and that's all bad news. So road course racing has a lot of variables in it, but learning to manage that and manage it throughout a run is the biggest key.
We've got nothing on the Midwest this year for rainouts. They've had horrible luck with rainouts in the short track scene in the Midwest. But out here in California, we did rain out most of our racetracks on May 18th. So that was only about a month ago. And so typically when the NASCAR guys come to Sonoma here in June, They find themselves on a pretty dry track. But you can see there's still little bits of green there in the grass. So it's not quite as dry and dusty as it is some years here at Sonoma. And so that's been playing to the hand of these drivers as we've had a few cars go off. We haven't had any problems with any tire failures so far. The track has been pretty clean throughout the event. So it seems like that late rain has helped us a little bit. This is probably about as green as we've ever seen this track when they've had Sonoma as a June race. In the past, in the early 90s, this race was run earlier in the year, but ever since they made this a summertime race, this is about the greenest that you guys have been able to see Sonoma Raceway. So we're in some ways kind of happy to show you how beautiful this area can be when it's nice and green. So still seeing those yellow lights illuminated on the Toyota pace car. So we're gonna go a whole nother lap around, and they do have the pit area open right now. Pits are open, no takers at all for that. So we're gonna stay all lined up single file and go around a whole nother time. And it's gotta be pretty tough, Justin, on these young drivers that are so keen to get underway and just to keep their mental composure on such a long caution flag here.
Yeah, I'd suspect we go back to green here next lap. It looks like all the safety trucks are pretty much off the track. The thing that does really suck for Noah Gragson is we are running more caution laps, and every caution lap that goes by, that's more, less time that he has to get back up to the front after that issue. So the more caution laps that are run, the worse it is for them guys trying to come back up to the front. And like I said, I don't think this is going to be the last caution, and if it is, I'll be very surprised.
So for those drivers in the top two, another interesting thing to think about is that neither of them have very many victories in full-body NASCAR stock cars. Of course, Hemrick, all that success in the Xfinity Series, never won a race. And for Ryan Preece, same kind of ball game, very few wins in the NASCAR Xfinity and Cup Series, of course. So they're relishing any opportunity you get a NASCAR victory on your mantle is big, isn't it?
Yeah, and this will be a confidence booster for tomorrow if one of them can close it off. Anytime you win in anything, even a go-kart, anywhere in the world, when you win, you just get so much more confidence. When I run my dirt modified on the weekends with all the local guys and I win, I say every time my confidence is boosted just because it brings you back to victory lane. So obviously that'll be very good for them. The whole team's morale, when they go over to the Cup Garage tomorrow, if one of them does win, their Cup crew will be super pumped for them, and it'll just help out the whole weekend.
So we're looking to see how they're going to line up, and I think Preece is going to end up being driver's right once again. That worked out pretty well for him there on the previous attempt. Kind of brought him up slow and then took off and was able to get a car length on the field going into turns 1 and 2, and he's going to try to do that again. Again, if you're joining us on Fans Choice TV, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have a lot of great racing tonight. Langley Speedway, approximately 6:30 Eastern. Chukasa Speedway, that's a big fast track, and it's the prelude to the Short Track Nationals there. So those are Pro Lane model cars. That's that big, high-paying Pro Lane model event coming up later this summer. The prelude to that is tonight. Of course, we're all looking forward to the Madhouse, Bowman Gray Stadium. That's going to be coming up at 7:45 Eastern. The Salina High Banks in Oklahoma, Magic Valley Speedway in Idaho, Tucson in Arizona, and finally Alaska Raceway Park that has NASCAR sanctioned late models and also a really good Legends car field. They get about 12 to 15 Legends cars way up there in the Great White North outside of Anchorage, Alaska. So lots of racing to come. And more racing to come right here in Sonoma with 14 to go at the line. Ryan Preece alongside Dan Hemrick. And Hemrick would like to get a little bit of a better restart this time.
Yeah, for sure. And Noah coming up through the field, he's passed a lot of cars so far, but every car he passes, it gets harder to pass the next car. So he's going to have some Cup and Xfinity guys here to pass as we go green. It'll be very interesting to see how he works it, manages a car with 14 to go.
Well, we know that 32 a quarterly, the 40 Will Rogers, they're also going to be tough customers to pass. A little bit of a better restart for Hemrick, and around right across his nose goes the 47 of Preece, and they'll go, whoa, trouble for Quarterly.
Oh, that's my guy, Dale Quarterly.
Straight off the track, and we saw some big piece of debris go flying off like off of the nose of that car. I don't know if that was the little strip on the bottom of the nose, but a big piece of debris went flying off of that car. Looked like the right front tire might have been down, and he goes straight off the course, and he almost did a John Krebs there and climbed up the hill, and that's a real famous moment in the lore of California racing fans. And that car looks like it's down a little bit on the right side, but otherwise doesn't look like it's in too much of hurt. So hopefully he can get that car refired, and I think that's what he's trying to do right now, because he knows that Justin Haley's rooting for him, so he's got to figure out a way, right?
Yeah, I did see him refire it there, but he might be stuck in the ditch. Man, that's just a shame for him. But that restart, Ryan Preece did slow it down quite a bit, but Hamrick was a little more prepared for us. So Preece has been really brake checking those guys on the restarts, and it looked like Dale Quarterly there may have had a flat right front. It looks like he just definitely had no front turn in that car, which could have been accustomed to that flat right front.
I think he lost the side skirt on the right side, and that's what we saw flying through the air there. And it was probably already a little bit prior loosened up, and I wonder if this right front going down, if he didn't already have some fender work rubbing from the earlier contact today, and that didn't rear its ugly head here on this set of tires. So those yellow wheels on the 32 did not serve as good luck for Dale Quarterly, and hopefully they can clean that thing up, and he'll be interesting to watch if he can get it restarted. He's, like you've said before a couple times, Justin, a lot of drivers in this field have nothing to lose. Quarterly is one of them, so he's going to throw caution to the wind here for these final couple laps here.
For sure, and this also helps out Derek Kraus. I believe, if I'm not wrong, this might get him another lap back, which would put him on the lead lap and maybe save his championship hopes. So I'm not sure if you've got a complete lap. I'm not quite sure of the K&N West rule book, but if that does work out into his favor, getting the free pass, that would be awesome.
Yeah, we'll see if he pulls into line there. I believe you're correct that he will be the free pass car, but we always wait to confirm that until we see him pull up behind the pace car, but there's a strong possibility of that. He is the only car a lap down on the course right now. So if he gets that, like you said, that'll save his season. And if we restart this thing with Kraus and with the 32 of Quarterly together at the back of the order, there will definitely be some fireworks as the two of them work their way through the pack, and we'll see how far they can get through the field, as Quarterly having to go painfully all the way around the circuit on that right front. And you have to be careful not to hurt the car any further when you do that, right?
Yeah, there's no shortcuts here, which made Cup qualifying for me extremely hard. We did one lap and we were done, and keeping out of everyone else's way on a qualifying run is super hard. So especially when you have a hurt car and you got to limp it back around, it definitely puts more wear and tear on it, and the team's going to have to fix more than probably what they should at this point.
So remember, we talked about you get 12 tires for the weekend, the 4 they practiced on, the 4 that ran the qualifying and the first half of the race, and the 4 they're on now. So whatever tire they put on that right front will have some laps on it, likely 20 or 30 laps on whatever tire they put on that right front. So we'll see if that tire has enough left in it that Quarterly can get back through the field, and hopefully they can pull that fender work away from the right front as well, so that he can make it all the way to the finish. Getting ready for the restart, and if they do restart this time around, we'd be down to just 12 laps to go. With the National Series drivers, we talked earlier that there's 5 of them here as they're going to work on the right front of Dale Quarterly's car. There are 5 National Series drivers here, and they all rank within the top 6 in the order. The driver that is not from the National Series but would like to be, that's mixed into that group, is the number 40 of Will Rogers, who was the pole sitter and the race winner last year. Moved over to a new car this year from Matt Levine Racing, and it hasn't slowed him down one bit as he ranks in the 4th position in that number 40 Ford. So it hasn't really affected him at all making that move as they're getting Quarterly's car squared away.
Yeah, Quarterly, they did put a new right front tire on that thing, and he is back out on track. Derek Kraus did get another free pass, so that puts him on the lead lap. So now he can kind of, it's a red right front that they put on that car. So he's got 3 yellow tires and 1 red tire. So maybe that's the secret trick for some speed.
Man, they kind of left that body work the way it was. They didn't really do a whole lot of work to massage that, so hopefully that doesn't pose any problems for Quarterly, and he'll restart in the back with Derek Kraus. And the lights are off. Preece is on driver's right. And you know, the last restart, Dan Hemrick timed it just well enough that he could tuck behind Preece, almost as if they planned it. Now he's going to really need to do that because he has the 3 of Austin Dillon right there. And if Preece gets a good restart and Dillon follows him in, Hemrick could end up falling back a couple of positions. So Dan Hemrick's going to have to time this perfectly.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be hard, and Ryan has been super slow on these past restarts. So Daniel, you know, he's a smart guy, so he will definitely take that in consideration and maybe lag back a little bit, try to get a jump on it. But Ryan Preece has definitely been playing with everyone's minds here on the restarts.
Lights off, waiting for that pace car to dip to the right, and it does. We see Engelbright in the midst. We see the 17 of Mayhew has moved his way forward, and now we see the green flag, and virtually an identical restart to the time before, and Dillon got his nose in there alongside Hemrick, and Hemrick manages to just barely scoot away from him, and now 3 wide, here comes Noah Gregson.
Yeah, he's been working his way up through the field, and it's really aggressive racing there, but that was key for him. David Mayhew going to go a little while, but the 7 car will get it, Noah Gregson. These restarts haven't been the best for Haley Deegan. She shows speed on the long run, so every time we've had a restart, she's just been going back further and further.
Well, Jagger Jones is going to emerge from all that as the highest of the points contending West Series cars. Everybody else in front of him is here for only one reason, and that is to win at Sonoma and drink the wine in Victory Lane. And right now, Jones kind of leading the West Series regulars from just behind that group. The top 7 or 8 are all here to throw caution to the wind and to go for it. It is the top 7 that are all win it or go home drivers. Noah Gregson restarted from the break, and he is working his way forward up to 3rd is what he's trying to go for here on Austin Dillon. This has been a very tremendous run through the field by Noah Gregson.
Yeah, he's been showing a lot of speed, but like I said, as he gets further and further up here, Austin Dillon, he's a very hard racer. He's definitely not going to give Noah an inch. He does clear him there, but going up here towards Daniel Hemrick, Austin hit him, and he goes off track, so that was definitely crazy.
Yeah, I think Gregson had already kind of boiled over a little bit himself, and that was bound to happen.
Yeah, you see a lot of drivers aren't happy with him, giving them their fenders, so he's definitely getting paid back for those quick moves.
Boy, we were side by side, 2 by 2, about 5 rows deep through the hairpin in turn 11. Great side-by-side racing in this K&N Pro Core 200, and Gregson paid the price for how aggressive he was. I think he ran through turn 10 about as strong as anyone has today from the outside, and Gregson paid the price and fell back there. And they list him 6th on our scoring monitor, but I think he may be a spot or 2 lower than that. That was really intense stuff. And meanwhile, as they battle 3rd on back here between Will Rogers and Austin Dillon, the top 2 of Ryan Preece and Daniel Hemrick are happy to see these guys battle as they've stepped away. The gap from 2nd to 3rd is about 2.7 seconds. And Gregson, well, time's going to run out if he doesn't get going now. As we see, Ron Jay has had a bit of trouble once again, the Canadian driver. And the battling is going on right here. The center of the universe right now here at Sonoma is on that number 7 of Noah Gregson. Gregson goes inside of Will Rogers, and now he's starting to gather it up once again. You can tell he's got a fast race car.
Yeah,
he made quick work there.
He definitely has the best car out of anyone I can see, but he was super aggressive, and there was some trouble there. They got all stacked up, so Daniel Hemrick and Ryan Preece are definitely loving this. They have stretched their lead out quite a bit, so man, it's been intense racing here at Sonoma Raceway.
So there's the gap from 2nd to 3rd. You see that it's about 3 seconds, almost the length of that little short shoot there from 10 to turn 11. Every run so far, Justin, we've seen about 2 to 3 laps into the run that Daniel Hemrick can gain on Ryan Preece. This is the time where he would really like to do that and maybe try to go for the lead here in the closing laps with 10 to go. And we'll see if Daniel Hemrick can close down on Ryan Preece at all, as the 86 of Tim Spurgeon had a little off-road excursion there in turn 11. And this is the battle between the Jefferson Pitts teammates for 3rd. Austin Dillon in the 3, Noah Gregson in the 7.
Yeah, Austin was super aggressive with Noah, so I think Noah's being a little more cautious here with Austin, because Austin did give him the bumper there. Put him off track, but that's just racing. We'll see if Noah can make quick work of them and try to close that gap on those leaders.
Whoa, we haven't seen anybody go up the inside of the carousel yet, but Noah Gregson's finding places to go fast, and there he goes. So Noah Gregson, who has not won at Sonoma and K&N NASCAR, is showing great speed. In fact, looked like he waved out the window to say thanks to Austin Dillon, like as if Austin had let him go, because they are teammates and Gregson wants to win this. But there was some communication going on there between those two Jefferson Pitts cars, and now they all need to put their head down if they want to make up the gap. The gap has grown from first place Ryan Preece back to third place Noah Gregson. The gap has grown to over 5 seconds with only 10 laps to go. He's going to have to be perfect or hope for yellow.
Yeah, if Noah is perfect here, looking at the deltas, he'll barely catch him just in time to be able to make that pass up. Ryan Preece has got a pretty good lead here. Daniel Hemrick is a little bit farther back, but that was a very aggressive pass by Noah, especially going over the crest of that hill. That is a blind corner. It's pretty scary going over there by yourself, let alone trying to pass someone. And Austin, obviously seeing him in his rearview mirror, just gave it to him, I believe, because that's a really sketchy place on the racetrack to try to do any kind of passing.
Well, and Hemrick's backing it up and proving that pass was deserved as he has pulled away. Gregson has pulled away from Austin Dillon. Is a little bit of battling deeper in the order. Jagger Jones getting company from Haley Deegan for position number 8. A very critical battle involving the points battles, of course. And there's a look at the 50 of Daniel Hemrick, who has not really moved up on Preece. In fact, he gave up a lot of time, almost an entire second on the final lap around the racetrack. So currently that differential is 2.0 seconds, 2.06 seconds. So Preece has found something here in the closing stages of this race, and it's going to be up to that 7 car and Noah Gregson, I think, to try to make this thing interesting.
Yeah, Daniel's car has really fallen off pace. He didn't have the best of lap that last time. The lap time's a little bit off, and that could just be the different set of tires. He could be staggered a little bit differently or building a bit different. So this new set of tires isn't working the best for him.
David Mayhew has been one of the exciting drivers today. He's been in the middle of a little bit of everything after starting deep in the order with mechanical trouble after time trials. Finds himself in 6th place with a little bit of company from the 22 of Cole Custer, who is in his 3rd Sonoma start, has a best finish of 9th right now. He'd better that by 2 positions from 7th. We'd like to better that even further. The battling continues here among the points drivers. The 6 of Jagger Jones, the 19 of Haley Deegan, and perhaps one of the more exciting battles of 2019 in all of NASCAR was their battle in lap traffic at the Las Vegas dirt track to open up the West Coast stock car season. And of course, Haley Deegan won that race with a turn 1 maneuver that included a little bit of contact, and now it looks like there's going to be a little bit of contact again between these 2 young drivers.
Noah's lap times are almost a second faster than anyone. He gained a full second on Ryan Preece there that lap, so definitely being only 4 seconds back at this point with 8 to go, he can make it happen if he gets around Daniel Hemrick with no issues.
This is an impressive field with a lot of talented drivers. How impressed are you with Noah Gregson's speed today?
Well, his car has a lot of speed, and you see Cole Custer as well and Austin Dillon. They haven't had the best days. They're running 4th and 6th, but their cars just haven't been the best. So I think that number 7 car has been very fast all weekend. And Noah is obviously a very good road course racer. He's got a lot of road racing experience and a lot of time put into it.
One of the fun things with these rookie drivers and young drivers like Haley Deegan is she comes from that dirt background, the dirt trucks. She just did something that we have not seen today at Sonoma. She entered turn 7A from the outside and crossed over to the inside of Jagger Jones. And now she's all the way up on the curbing. And these are 3 drivers that all ran at Irwindale weekly in 2017. And then again in 2018 was Jones and Wallace Allen. But all 3 of these drivers have raced late models at Irwindale, and they're reliving the glory days. They all swooped to the bottom. This is a super entertaining battle here from a couple of very young drivers that I think NASCAR fans are going to hear a lot about in the future. And Justin, you'll probably be racing these guys in the next year or 2. This is wild, exciting racing. I mean, I'm loving this up here.
Yeah, and it is quite the pack of cars there. A bunch of rookies, young guns trying to get some time in. So Man, they were racing
This
hard.
is crazy. Like, all we can do up here is smile as they make contact. And of course, it's not for the win, but it matters a lot to these drivers for both bragging rights. Like we said, they're all Southern California-based drivers, with Hailie Deegan out of Temecula. And look at how sideways the 6 of Jagger Jones. I gotta think the fans here at Sonoma are going crazy. There's a lot of Deegan fans here in the stands, and a lot of Sunrise Ford fans as well, and Parnelli Jones fans. This is a knockout, drag-out duel, and if you want to know what Sonoma means to these young drivers, this is for 8th place. And they're driving like it's for the Daytona 500. Look at the battling going on here.
Yeah, Haley's got to be careful though here. She's in a good position for a good points day. Derek Kraus in 24th, so if she does come home similar position as where she's racing now, there's a lot more penalty than there is reward for her right now. I don't think she quite has the car to win today unless something miraculous happens. So she's definitely fighting for every spot, which is what she's been known to do.
Most of the interviews you see with Hailie Deegan, she doesn't really talk about the points battle. Her priority is wins, and every position matters to her. And I think, like you said, points racing-wise, I think you are completely right that she can just fall in line here and ride it home to the finish. But Hailie has never really been much of a points racer in her career. Here she goes for it once again. And you're right, they are right on the edge of disaster here at Sonoma Raceway for 8th place. 2x2 insert the veteran Engelbright, who did most of his winning and success at this track before these drivers were even born, as Nagoya Japan's Takuma Koga is facing the wrong way in turn 7, as we're 2x2 for 8th. And meanwhile up front, the top 3 cars are only 2.7 seconds apart. So there is interesting racing everywhere you look around the 12-turn, 2.52-mile road course. Deegan gets the move done right as the yellow lights come on, and that may end up being nullified. So she worked so hard for that move, and it might not count. And on lap 44, the yellow flag comes out right as Takuma Koga rights the ship on the 77 and gets back underway. Always the way it works. It's the worst luck of the officials. And now we're going to set up a sprint to the finish here in the Procore 200. And Justin, this one's looking like it's going to be a very exciting finish.
Yeah, the luckiest guy on the racetrack right now is Noah Gregson. The last thing that Ryan Priest wanted to see was that caution. So Noah's going to line back up 3rd here and have a pretty good shot at it. He's been very fast. His lap times have been quite impressive for the amount of tires, laps we have on the tires and how hot it is. Look out there. He's definitely been closing up on the leaders about a second a lap faster. So definitely a pretty impressive drive from him.
You can't cut out the 3-car of Austin Dillon. He was pretty complimentary, it looked like, to the 7 of Gregson and kind of let him go on through. And so he may have the tires underneath him for this restart. There's a very strong possibility that he could insert himself, and you can never count out our defending race winner, Will Rogers, who will restart 5th, which is within arm's length if anything goes wrong among the leaders. So there are several cars that will have an argument for victory, and it's just going to have to play out on the racetrack. It's been a fantastic Procore 200. Justin Hailie, you've done a great job as well. It's been an awesome privilege to work with you so far as we set up for this restart. Fans Choice TV, I hope the folks TV are starting to realize how great the K&N series is. And those great battles you just saw with Hailie Deegan, Jagger Jones, those are drivers that do this every Saturday live on Fans Choice across the country. And so you have to tune in next Saturday from Roseburg, Oregon, and see what's next, because this is the future of NASCAR here.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that it's all live streamed by Fan Choice. I know when I was running the K&N cars back in the East days in 2014, 15, and 16, they were tape delayed races, and that was every so often they would be tape delayed. So really cool opportunity for a lot of these guys to get on live television.
So the yellow flags are still being displayed on the field. And is there any doubt that the 47 of Priest is going to want drivers right and be on the outside, if you will? I think that's where he wants to be. He's done that every restart. I probably wouldn't deviate from the game plan, right?
Yeah, and he's been brake checking the field pretty hard, and Noah hasn't had a restart up front with Ryan to know how he's been restarting. Every restart that Ryan's had control of, Noah's been in the back. So this might catch Noah a little off guard. We saw that he got into trouble by jumping the restart and Ryan's doing the opposite. So especially with Noah wanting to be aggressive here on this next restart, it might mix him up a little bit.
One thing we talked about a little bit earlier is we have a lot of multi-car teams here today, and how aggressive are the team orders going to be. Like we said, nobody within the top 5 is here for anything other than winning today, but 3 of those top 5 are with Jefferson Pitts Racing. So it's a dream come true for Jeff Jefferson and all the guys down there, and Jerry Pitts, but also could be a bit of a nightmare that they have 3 very strong hot rods there with the 47 of Priest, the 7 of Gregson, and the 3 of Austin Dillon. But I'm sure there was a game plan coming into the day among the crew, and I would imagine that more than likely the game plan is to race for the win and just to let it play out for the fans here. And it'll be interesting to see how that plays out here in the closing stages.
Yeah, it's all gonna come together here. We're gonna have a shootout of about 3 to 4 laps. The pace car lights are actually off, so we are going green this next time by. It'll be about 4 to go when we take the green flag here. So definitely a lot of action, long day's worth of work. Whoever is going to win this thing is going to be who managed their car the best. And Noah Gregson, I think, has the fastest car for sure. So it'll definitely be interesting.
There was some interesting jockeying going on there as Gregson being the 3rd place car. It appears that NASCAR has elected that driver's left is considered the traditional pole starting position. So that'll actually put Gregson from 3rd on the inside, if you will, behind Hemrick. So he will not get to restart behind the 47 of Priest, as you may have assumed, and that may be quite a bit of a disadvantage for Noah Gregson here. And he's going to have a real tall order to keep these guys within arm's length by the time they exit turn 2.
I don't know. Noah's got a really fast car. He's really going to have to mess up to not win this race. I think he definitely has the best car, like I've said over and over again. So once this thing strings out, I mean, 4 laps of racing, it might not be too much, but it's definitely a lot of miles. So it's definitely going to be the Noah Gregson show here.
Well, he's going to be screaming for that 50 of Hemrick to get going either way. So we'll see how this plays out. A couple of Sunrise Fords lining up behind this trio of Jefferson Pitts cars and that BMR Chevrolet. So some of the mainstay teams in the K&N West are having an opportunity to drink the wine here at Sonoma. We'll find out which of them does. And this was a rather equitable restart. And again, Priest gets it done, and we're 2 by 2 behind him. Up the hill they go, and Hemrick gets the nose on Austin Dillon. Dillon sails it in there. They make contact sideways for Cole Custer, as Gregson would like to get around Cole Custer, and he does, but he gets backed up by his teammate Austin Dillon, and now he's in 4th, and he'll have 4 laps to get it done, and may only take him a couple of corners, because here he goes.
Cole Custer is not happy with Noah Gregson. He's been bumping and grinding all over him, so Noah gets by Austin, and Priest has got a pretty good lead so far, so we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, it's already going to start to tighten up as they make the left-hander through the carousel. Trouble car off the racetrack is Rod Nealon, the 68, I believe.
That's going to be a caution.
Oh, it's the 78 of Jack Wood, the rookie driver out of Loomis, California, in the Velocity Racing entry. That's the cousin of Travis Milburn, who was eliminated earlier in the event. So they've had all those guys from that Idaho-based team have had various troubles today. He continues on, and the green lights are still on, Justin. So they're going to race it out. It doesn't look like there's any debris on the track. So battle here for 4th. Custer high, Custer low, trying to cross over through the S's on Austin Dillon. Will Rogers has been jostled out of the top 5, and he's got a front row seat from about 6th or 7th here as they come through turn 10. So this is kind of the second group, if you will, and here it is for the money for the Procore 200. 47 Priest, 50 of Hemrick, and the caution 7, and they did go caution. Yep.
There was too much debris on the racetrack there, as you see. It looks like a crush panel on the racetrack, so this is going to be intense. It'll probably only be 1 to 2 to go here when we do go back ring.
Yeah, they'll probably end up doing a green-white checker, and we will likely be going into overtime here at the Procore 200 from Sonoma Raceway, and they're going to have 2 laps to win it or wear it here at Sonoma. And Justin Haley is going to get himself in the proper position, the proper race play. He's going to take himself a quick little timeout before we see this thrilling finish. And I'm sure he's going to try to be quick as he takes a little break here for us. So just a reminder, right after this race concludes, we're going to be tossing it over to Bowman Gray Stadium to the pits, to pit road, with two great commentators standing by, Jesse Punch and Derek Perniciglio, who will have the call from the Madhouse, Bowman Gray Stadium, for NASCAR Whelen All-American Series Modified Racing. And man, I might have to put that up on the phone and live stream that here from Sonoma, because I don't want to miss that. 100 laps of modified racing live from Bowman Gray Stadium. And then it says in our notes here that the race that follows the modifieds is something called a chain race. Now, I may have mentioned earlier, I work for Bill McElwain Racing at All-American Speedway in Roseville, our nearest NASCAR home track, and we do anything you can come up with to have fun. So last week we had a Father's Day race between Haley Deegan in the 19 car and Brian Deegan running an old Buick Rivieras, beating each other up on the track. We do trailer races, freestyle motocross. In 2 weeks we're going to be racing big rigs, but I might have to invite Bill McAnally to tune into the chain race. And if that's any good on Fans Choice TV, you might see Roseville do a chain race before the year is over, because we pull out all the stops out there at All-American Speedway at the grounds in Roseville. So once again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Sonoma Raceway, to the Procore 200. I want to thank everybody at K&N Engineering that made this possible for us to put on this awesome live stream, and hope to do a whole lot more of this in the future. Like we said, next weekend, on June the 29th, the series will move on to Roseburg, Oregon, Douglas County Speedway. And then Friday, July 26th, at the East versus West at the Iowa Speedway, the track that Rusty Wallace built, the 7/8 mile short track there. If you love what you've seen here on Fans Choice TV from Sonoma, you can relive it Thursday, June 27th at 6 p.m. Eastern on NBCSN. And if you want to tweet about the excitement today, use the hashtag KNWest or Procore200. So those are the ways you can interact with us here on Fans Choice TV, as the field's still working their way behind the pace car. K&N Filters and K&N Engineering, the official sponsor of the K&N Pro Series East and West. And K&N can be found at all levels of NASCAR competition and in your local auto parts store. Every car can benefit from running K&N Filters, the official performance filter of NASCAR, and they are cloth filters that are washable, and they use them on the race cars. You can use them on your street car, and we highly recommend that you guys get yourself a K&N filter and support the K&N series. So awesome event so far, Justin Haley, and you're getting some compliments on Twitter here from all of our fans that have tuned in, saying you're doing great, that you have a lot of knowledge to bring to the table. So you've done a great job here today. As well, whatever just happened for the 16 of Kraus, I wonder if he wasn't a part of this fracas with Jack Wood, because the hood is pushed up, the car is overheating, but you know, it's only going to be a 2-lap run to the finish. So I think he's going to continue on and soldier on, perhaps.
Yeah, it's only 2 laps, but 2 laps is a lot for a motor to last that's overheating. So we'll see. But back to the compliments. My buddy Kaz Gralla, he's been giving me a hard time all day about my commentating, so I hope I'm doing an all right job.
No, you're doing outstanding. Very good job today, so I want to thank you for doing that. And it looks like we have a lot of people that have tuned in on Fans Choice TV. The Twitter feed is absolutely blowing up right now. So I want to thank everybody for getting the opportunity to see us live. And like we said, we're doing this for the entire K&N East and West this year. And there's over a dozen NASCAR home tracks that do this as well. So there's a lot of opportunities to see NASCAR racing live on your computer. We have a fan here that says this Procore finish is going to be intense. I think that sums it up pretty well. This is going to be intense. Another person just said on Twitter, hey, you know, the Cup drivers, they better tune in and see how Noah Gregson's figured out how to pass on the carousel and use that tomorrow. So if you have any surprising passes in the carousel, you can blame Noah Gregson tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be a crazy race tomorrow, but back to this race, the lights are off. We're going green with 2 laps to go here for this next restart. Got Ryan Preece. He's been in control for the whole second half of this race. this is a very similar restart to what we had last time, and Noah didn't get the best of restarts. So if Ryan can get a good jump here and hold him up, that should be his path to win.
Noah would like to figure out some way to emerge out of turn 2 in 3rd. He would not like to leave turn 2 side by side battling for 4th, because that's going to leave him a lot of work to do and not a whole lot of time to do it. And so we all know that guys like Cole Custer and Austin Dillon and Will Rogers are going to make this very tough on Noah Gregson. He's looking forward, but he's got a lot of guys next to him and behind him to deal with as well. Looks like the 19 of Deegan has fallen back a few spots just to the bottom of the top 10, so we'll keep an eye on her as well. Our pole-sitting car. The pace car dips off. Ryan Preece wants to be perfect on this Pro Core 200 restart with 2 to go, and it looks like it was a pretty good start. Gregson was pushing the 50 of Hemrick up the hill, and it looks like Dillon got a great restart, and Gregson and Dillon are going to try to go underneath Hemrick.
I'm telling you, Cole Custer is not happy with that 7 car, but another great restart. Ryan really slowed him down. We got contact way further back in the field, got one around in turn 2, but it looks like everyone's going to keep going.
Well, Ron J was facing the wrong way. Looked like perhaps Billy Kahn. We're 3 wide. He's going to go 2 for 1. Noah Gregson. You got to be kidding me. And he was loving those extra rumble strips on the inside that you talked about that aren't usually there. And we see in the IndyCar races here at Sonoma that inside's almost impossible to use without the rumble strips. That was cool that he used those to make the move. He's right where he needs to be. And the question is, can Noah Gregson get there? He's got a lap and a half to do it.
Yeah, he's been about a second a lap faster. Ryan obviously having clean track here. That was an impressive move. But how about the 3 and the 50 here? Daniel Hemrick and Austin Dillon, 2 teammates at RCR Racing. At the Cup level, they're just duking it out here. At the K&N level, having some fun on Saturday.
And they're doing it for different K&N teams. Whoa, big crash for Wallace Allen up onto the tires. Big crash. Very significant. He was battling with Haley Deegan and with David Mayhew, and we wonder if there might have been some contact between Deegan and the 12. Ryan Preece drove off the racetrack with the yellow lights on, and the 7 of Gregson passes him, but we don't know what the consequences are going to be as the yellow flags are displayed on the racetrack. And wow, Ryan Preece may have just been saved by these yellow flags as they're still kind of jockeying down the front straightaway here.
Yeah, the caution was definitely out, and you can see Noah give it back. But let's hope that Lawless is okay. That was a big hit, especially for a K&N car. The window net is down, so that's awesome to see from him. But man, that is a tough place. There's some tires there, but then a concrete wall. So I definitely know I would not love to have a hit like that.
So we were looking to see, and it was just a yellow flag displayed. So there's going to be another attempt here at a green-white checker finish as they're all kind of negotiating, hey, where were you, where was I, and figuring out where they're going to place Noah Gregson on this restart here as they're moving up the 50 of Daniel Hemrick, at least unofficially, has moved up a little bit. So we'll see where they end up slicing this out. This is going to be pretty intense. I mean, there's not much more intense of a battle at Sonoma Raceway than seeing Noah Gregson 3 wide on the entrance into the carousel. Is about the wildest thing I've seen here at Sonoma, and great to see Wallace Allen walking away. Justin, I just brought up the IndyCars. You know, they raced here for several years, and how the entrance into the carousel was so narrow in an IndyCar. And one of the bigger crashes that happened in the IndyCar series was in that exact spot where the 12 ended up, and that was when Joseph Newgarden spun there and ended up getting hurt in the process. So we're glad to see that that Wallace Allen is okay down there. There seems to be a lot of calamity in the S's at Sonoma, a lot of start crashes in Cup Series events here over the years, and that's a place where you can get caught out because it gets pretty narrow there. Yeah,
it does get narrow, and you can see they're going to bring them to at least a slow pace here as they're getting the number 12 out. What's curious to me is the 7 car of Noah Gregson gave the position back to Daniel Hemrick as of now, so I'm not sure if Noah's going to line up 2nd or 3rd. Have to see about that.
Yeah, so it's tough. You know, most of the K&N West tracks that we go to are a half mile or less, and those tracks only have 1 scoring loop right at start finish. So when a driver makes a cool move down the back straightaway and the caution comes out, they have to nullify it. In the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series, oftentimes they've got dozens of loops all the way around the racetrack, all kinds of sectors and segments, and the ability to really let it out to where they can find out exactly where the pass happened, and it can count even when the caution flies. I do not know what NASCAR is using for the West Series, if they're using the Cup Series loops or not. I would imagine they'd need a couple of loops on a 2.5-mile track. So we'll see what happens there. As we are under red to do some track cleanup as those tires are kind of lifted up on the K-rail. And you've done quite a bit of road racing in Trans Am, the K&N series. Have you ever hit the tires before, Justin?
Not like that. It's going to take a second to get those tires back in place. As you can see, they have hooked up the number 12 car, but it's going to take a second for the tire barrier to get back safe, which is what they're working on. So there was another car stopped. It looked like at the upper part of turn 2, so there's cars and parts and tire barriers everywhere.
Now we have a lot of drivers that live in the Sonoma area that run this race. One of them is Rod Nealand, who is just a general contractor in the area that basically the only K&N race he runs is Sonoma. He does home renovations all year and then gets to play at Sonoma, and oftentimes he builds brand new cars. This year the same thing, brand new car for Rod Nealand. Started this race at a 25th position. His heyday was racing in pro trucks at Altamont Raceway Park, a track that is no longer in operation not far from us. And Justin, that car is a mess, that number 12 of Lawless Allen.
Yeah, it definitely took a hard hit, and that was one of the newer cars on the circuit this weekend. I know they built that thing up, and that is a BMR car, correct?
Yes, one of the 5 BMR cars. 4 of them are Toyotas, and of course, Dan Hemrick's car is a Chevrolet, so for his RCR affiliation. But longtime Toyota supporter on the West Coast, Bill McAnally.
Yeah, I would say Daniel Hemrick's about the best shot for BMR to get a win here today. Derek Kraus, obviously, he's still back out on track. This red flag will play to his favor, trying to get that thing cooled off.
In the past, when the K&N cars were a lot more similar to the Cup Series cars, this Sonoma race, you would oftentimes see the Cup teams field their drivers in the West race. But now with the modern rules, with these new bodies and with the spec motor, we see that all the top cars in the running order are all West Series regular teams. So no matter how it works out, right now you have Jefferson Pitts racing 1-2, you have Bill McAnally racing in 3rd, another Jefferson Pitts car in 4th, and then Sunrise Ford cars 5th and 6th. So the 3 top programs in the West stand to have one of them come away drinking the wine, and so that's still really awesome for these grassroots teams. And I bet they learn a lot having these high quality drivers in the cars as well.
They do. It's a lot of good information for the teams, bringing in experienced drivers. Looking through the order here, hasn't been the day for Will Rogers as I would expect to see him. He's had a lot of success here at Sonoma. He beat Kevin Harvick one year, or did Kevin Harvick beat him?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot here.
Yeah. Either way, it's not the run he wanted. He's sitting in 7th right now when we'll go back to green.
Well, Will won last year. Will won this race last year, but I'll have to look at that. I know Harvick got the win at Kern County in a K&N race. That Will was in that race, but as far as at this racetrack, most notably is Will's win last year for me. So we have some folks on the Fans Choice who are kind of doing some screen grabs and giving us some replays. We're getting a look at the incident between Lawless Allen and Haley Deegan, and looks like they were together. Let's put it that way. Through the S's, way too hard to make any kind of judgment call there. It does get very narrow through the S's, almost impossible to run side by side there. And we had seen late in the run that on the exit of turn 7, a lot of guys were exiting there pretty sideways on the gas. And so it's likely that Allen was pretty sideways on the exit, but impossible to figure out what led to the contact and how he spun from the angle that we have. Like I said, just kind of borrowing it from Twitter. But in any case, very tough break for Lawless Allen.
Yeah, and one of the places that I've noticed in the Cup car this weekend that has a little lack of grip is turn 7 on exit there. And I'm not sure if that's just because it's a new course. There hasn't been rubber built up there from years past or whatnot. So it's really hard to get traction. You're really binding the car up, got a lot of right steer to it. Then you're trying to get back to the gas as quick as possible to get through the S's. So it's definitely been hard. I know in qualifying I was sideways there as well. So even a Cup car having more horsepower, these K&N guys are struggling. And I think tomorrow throughout the race it is going to be really a struggle for rear grip. One of the biggest things we worked on was we were really tight. So do you try to get the front working or do you try to get the rears to stay on it? So we were lacking rear grip, we were lacking steer. It was going every which way. So it was hard for me to diagnose the car if we should work on keeping the car turning throughout a run or keeping rear traction underneath it. And you know, as a race car driver, I want the best of both worlds, but you don't always get that. So I think rear traction's probably the biggest thing here. There's a lot of corners that are real tight and low horsepower.
Looks like the safety crew dragged over a trailer, and they might even be replacing some tires as Ron J is testing out his car on the flat area outside of turn 7 while we're under red. But it looks like he's had an interesting day for sure.
Yeah, he was driving all around the access road there. That was pretty impressive. But yeah, it's going to take a while for the
you got a forklift out there. You've driven a little bit of everything, Trans Am, trucks. Have you ever driven a forklift?
I have driven a forklift, but I can't get my eyes off the 36 here. He's doing laps. I don't know what the reason behind that is.
He's practicing for Bowman Gray afterwards.
Yeah.
That's about the size of Bowman Gray over there. You know, back in the day, back when you were here in 2015, that area with that big Speedway Children's Charities big rig, that area was the pit area when we ran the Legends cars during the NASCAR pit. So to me, he looks like he's trying to go pit with the old Legends cars.
I would say there's an issue maybe with his starter where he can't shut that car off. But even under a red flag, I think getting a push truck start is probably better than driving around for the next 15 minutes. So I think I've seen it all today.
This is reminiscent of when they're trying to run the clock down in a football game and the quarterback starts running in circles. This is a little different here. So for all you on Fans Choice TV, this is why we enjoy being live and unfiltered, and you get to see, really you get the character of the K&N series and short track racing and what the fans see, and it's I kind of like that we're getting to see something unique like that, but it's a little unusual. By the way, I want to give a tip of the hat. You can see him on the shot there, the black and yellow 35 of Dave Smith. I talked about him earlier. He's running with sponsorship from Dusty Baker's Winery, and Dusty Baker, former manager of the San Francisco Giants, with over 1,600 wins as a manager, and former manager of the year. Of course, Dusty Baker was a hero for the San Francisco Bay Area, so I know a lot of people in the stands would want to see Dusty's car doing well. Former BMR Toyota, they sold off a couple of their older cars, and he's got that car right on the cusp of a top 10. When we regrid, he's going to restart about 12th. And speaking of BMR Toyotas, unofficially on our scoring monitor, look who's in 13th, Justin.
I was just about to comment on that. After you got done talking, Derek Kraus, he was running up front early on, had an issue with the car, had to come to pit road, lost 3 laps, and over the course of this race, everything's fallen into his place, and he finds himself on the lead lap in 13th place. So earlier in the day, we were saying it was going to be a championship run for Haley Deacon, and she was going to come out with the points lead. But right now, as everything scores, that doesn't appear to be the issue.
Well, you got to love live TV, right? And I'm receiving messages from all kinds of folks, and they want to make an emphasis on the 50 of Daniel Hemrick, that they are not officially deeming that car as a Bill McAnally Racing car with the Chevrolet on it, so they want to emphasize that. That's what the messages I just received. So I'll give a little assist there to the guys there, longtime supporters of the series, and if they ask a request like that, we'll honor that. So they got car owner William Hilgeman, who I do not know, so if I'm mispronouncing that name, I will update that. But anyway, the 50 ride of Daniel Hemrick, we'll see if he can get the victory for William today. So race fans, just waiting for this thing to get back underway. Our scoring does show 50 laps complete. And obviously we're going into overtime here, which adds a whole other set of circumstances. I don't think fuel is going to be a big issue with this race. You know, this second half, only about 60 miles, 62 miles, thereabouts. So I don't think fuel is a big issue. Obviously, it's another 2 laps on those General tires, but they've been pretty durable. And right now, the track crew just working on getting those tires into position. So race fans, once again, if you want to tweet at us on the hashtag KN West, we will see those and we can take your comments and tell us who you think's going to win this race. Will it be Ryan Preece? Will it be Noah Gragson? Will it be Daniel Hemrick? And some of the discussion we're seeing on Twitter is not relating necessarily to the scoring loops, but is relating to whether or not this race follows the traditional K&N rules. So on the traditional K&N rules, it is written that they do revert fully back to the previous green flag lap because, like we mentioned, most tracks we go to only have the one scoring loop. I don't know if they make any exception here at Sonoma, and we're just going to find out along with the rest of you of where they are going to place Noah Gragson. There is some speculation that he may restart this race from 4th and have to do it all over again, which would be a kind of a heartbreaking scenario for him.
Yeah, I just got a text that they do go back to the previous lap here at Sonoma. They just keep it the same at every track per the rule book. So Noah Gragson will actually go back to 4th place where he lined up last time.
And we're hearing that they're allowing the teams to come out to the drivers and hand them some water under the red flag. So the guys that are going to need some water is this hard-working track crew. And luckily, we're way up on top of the hill. Sometimes when you're at a short track and they have an issue and they need the track crew, they'll end up starting to bringing in announcers and flagmen and anyone they can get just to get the track cleaned up quicker. But we're far, far away from where these guys are, so we don't have to worry about them putting us to work, Justin.
Yeah, no, we're up in the air-conditioned booth, so I'm definitely not complaining.
So race fans, if you're joining us and you're looking on Fans Choice TV and you're hoping to find the big event at Bowman Gray Stadium, that goes live after we are done. We're going to be throwing to them for a little bit of a pre-race. I believe that will start on our stream, so you can get the preview and then you'll go and click over to the Bowman Gray stream. So you won't have to do anything different. We'll be able to do a pre-race with the Bowman Gray people. So that'll be coming up right after this event has concluded as we sit here under red at Sonoma Raceway. And Justin, I gotta think it gets pretty hot in these cars when you're not moving.
It does. Red flags are the worst as a race car driver. There's no air movement, not that there really is any to begin with. We run right side windows in the Cup cars, so they're extremely hot in there. And out of all the cars I've ever drove, the Xfinity cars are actually the hottest. And a lot of people can contest that. I'm not sure why, but these K&N cars, they get toasty too, especially out here under the sun in California. It's super dry out here. Like I was mentioning earlier, it's a different environment from where I live. So again, acclimated to this kind of weather, it's really pays a toll to the body. So a lot of the Sonoma natives are probably a little better shape than some of us guys.
Yeah, there were some people complaining down on pit road about saying it was too warm. A couple of our friends from the Pacific Northwest. But for all of us California guys like myself and my buddy Diego, we were going, hey, this is about the coolest Sonoma we've had in a few years. Now, the last time that I got to announce the Sonoma K&N West was back in 2011 or 12, I believe. And it came up on my Facebook as being an anniversary today. And it rained during practice and qualifying, just a little bit. So all of our notes got wet. All of the announcing booths around the track for the PA feed are all just little wooden booths in the hillside. So our notes got wet, our computers got wet. So that was really unusual. But we are pretty close to the ocean. There's quite a bit of water around here, so it can get humid here. But today with the wind, it's very dry. and 91 degrees was the forecasted high. I don't even think it got that high. So for California in the summertime, beautiful weather. I want to thank everybody that's here at Sonoma Raceway for making this thing possible. I want to thank everybody that's watching at home for supporting the next generation of NASCAR drivers. We really can't do what we do without the support of the fans. Very fan-driven sport here in NASCAR, and looks like the track crew has everything figured out. And here's some guys, you know, that one right in the middle, he's still got all the fur on, so he's probably feeling a little bit warm. That's the Kim Kardashian one wearing his fur coat. The rest of them, they're all wearing their Sonoma best here. So we'll get this thing back underway in just a few moments here as they're pulling off the track crews and cars are starting to roll forward. So we see that yellow flag is being displayed from the starter high above Sonoma Raceway, and that's what we wanted to see to get this thing back underway. This race has really not been abnormal in the number of cautions. I don't have any historical data in front of me, just anecdotal from growing up in Sacramento, and I've been to just about every West Series race here in Sonoma. This is about typical. It's typically a 2-hour event. This is what the drivers kind of plan for and what the crews plan for. And of course, a little bit different this year. In the past, on the 1.99 mile NASCAR version of the course, with the short chute going from turn 5 to turn 7, the race was 64 laps on that layout. And when Chris Wright and the gang at the K&N series tried to make this a similar length event, they landed on a 50-lap distance here on the 2.52 mile carousel version of the course. I have a guess. There's a few people on Twitter that have mentioned that we've said carousel a lot. So if you have a drinking game going on carousel, I do apologize, but that's what we love to call that corner. It's kind of like the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. There's a lot of famous uphill and downhill corners in Northern California at our road courses, so I'm not going to be too apologetic on that. We're going to stick with the carousel theme for the rest of the weekend here. And hopefully we'll get this thing back underway pretty soon. Looks like maybe the next time around. And of course, there will not be any free passes within the final couple of laps of the race. They freeze that. So the previous caution did not have a free pass either. And one of the drivers that's kind of parted the Red Seas as a result of all these cautions is Haley Deegan, who's going to gain another position and will unofficially restart about 9th, right behind Jagger Jones in that battle of drivers that are in the points hunt this year. So it looks like they are going to re-grid them, Justin, with Daniel Hemrick second. So now Gregson's got to try to do that again. I don't know how he's going to top a 3-wide move into the corkscrew.
Yeah, you know, he's got it figured out by now. There's been plenty of restarts. And it's definitely been pretty racy. So the 47 and 50 have been up front all day. Noah's been going back and forth. And when we do line up here, the initial start, the initial jump, Ryan's kind of been playing around. He had a few slow restarts, then he moved it back to a fast restart. And then that last restart, he really checked the field up and got a real slow start. So it'll be interesting to see when we go green. I expect we might line him up this lap, but depending, it'll definitely be a shootout.
Yeah, we like to see him go out of the red flag already in the proper race place and get him lined up soon. So we should be seeing that in just a few moments. And this race has had a little bit of everything. Drivers through the dirt, you can see that on the 17 of Mayhew. A lot of these cars have very dirty windshields. A lot of these K&N guys, they don't bring tear-offs, so they're stuck with that for all 50 laps. So it's a little bit dirty and dusty and exciting here on the road course. 2.52 miles, the Procore 200. A big thank you to the folks at Procore for supporting this event. And Procore was sponsoring all kinds of fun facts about the Sonoma Raceway on the Sonoma ISM Vision screens around the racetrack. So you can learn a lot about what Sonoma has done over the years to beautify this facility. the number of man hours that it took to make some of the improvements that they've made over the last 20 or 25 years. Again, the 50th year of this venue, and when you come here every year, you really can't tell that it's 50 years old. They've done a great job here. They've been very welcoming to all of us here at NASCAR and with Fans First TV as field crossing up, and once again, Preece, drivers right. And again, like we pointed out on the previous restart, that puts Gregson behind Hemrick. Fourth is Dillon. Fifth, Will Rogers, Cole Custer, David Mayhew, Jagger Jones, Haley Deegan, and Jim Engelbright. Trevor Huddleston is in 11th. He's moved up quite a bit. 12th for Dave Smith out of Novato, California, the local driver. Derek Kraus, 13th. So a lot of drivers have turned their fortunes around, and now all the time for talk is over. It's time to find out who's going to win the Procore 200 as the lights are off the pace car, Justin.
Yeah, Derek Kraus did have to go to the back there because they did revert to the last lap. This, I believe there will be 2 to go here as we take the green. So 2 laps to make it happen for Noah Gragson, 2 laps for Ryan Preece to hold him off, and Daniel Hemrick's been kind of somewhere in the middle all day.
You would see Ryan Preece inside the car was looking to his left, trying to figure out where Hemrick was, trying to get the advantage. That was a good restart for Daniel Hemrick. Hemrick is up alongside Ryan Preece. There's a big crash behind him. Looks like perhaps Billy Kahn has hit the wall in the 18 Interstate Batteries car. We're 3 wide for third. Gregson did not get away very well. Where did Cole Custer come? Cole Custer to third. Daniel Hemrick to the lead.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, I didn't expect to see that for sure. I was just talking about how Daniel Hemrick was kind of in the middle all day, but he makes something happen. Cole Custer finding some speed. Their tires got cool on that red flag, and obviously it helped when the 18 cars guys are putting that down. It looks like he's about to climb out of the car, but we're still green.
Yeah, we're still green on the racetrack as they make their way down the hill. Now Gregson, can he get back to these guys? Man, we are 2 by 2 for the lead. With 2 to go, he can't really beat that as Gregson gets around Cole Custer, and Gregson is right there in the 3rd position. And like you talked about earlier,
Hemrick
Justin.
goes wide.
Yep, Hemrick went wide. He's feeling the pressure from these 2 behind him. Preece and Gregson have been the class of the field all day long. Daniel Hemrick trying to steal it here in the final set of corners as they do put out the yellow. The yellow is forced to fly for Billy Kahn, who I think got a piece of the wall. We saw that car go up in smoke, but in fact the damage is on the right front, so he hit the wall right around start finish, I think, or maybe even tagged the car next to him, but it all happened before they got to turn 1, and he never even made it through turn 2. The car went straight off the racetrack, similar to Dale Quarterly's off-road excursion earlier, and we are yellow again.
So we're going to re-rack him, and Daniel Hemrick, all that work he did to get the lead, it's going to be erased. Ryan Preece is going to be back in the lead. Everything that Cole Custer did to get up front, he's going to be back there where he started. It looks like they pretty much adjusted themselves. It's kind of as tradition now. We've had so many of these green-white checkers. So
frustrating if you're that 50 car Daniel Hemrick, because that was a brilliant restart. And you know, we talked about how certain folks online and some of the fans watching at home have said, hey, you know, the way this race goes could say a lot about how tomorrow goes. And I think the move that Hemrick just made right there shows that you can make the inside work on these restarts, and there's something to be learned there. As they're picking up the 18 of Bill Kahn, who drives that Interstate Batteries car. And he's off to driver's right just at the top of the hill. And they will pick up that car. I believe they're carrying a Chevrolet on that car now. In the past, they were a Toyota. So we'll pick up the 18 for the team out of Arizona and get this thing another attempt.
That's got to be so frustrating for Daniel Hemrick, who did take the lead. It's got to be great for the 47 driver, Ryan Preece, but all that work, it definitely probably a rule that needs to get looked at because it's been 2 or 3 times now where drivers have made aggressive moves and been about 3/4 of the way through the lap, and then the caution comes out and they got to revert back to it. This is such a long course now at 2.25 miles. It's definitely heartbreaking for some drivers.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense when you go to a place like Roseburg, Oregon next week, which is about a 0.4 of a mile, maybe even a 3/8. I've seen some different links listed for that track. Makes sense on a track like that to revert back, but like I said, on a 2.52 mile course, it probably makes sense to have some more scoring loops and officiate it more like the Cup Series. But Ryan Preece will have no complaints because this has worked out in his favor. And it's better to be lucky than good sometimes, and he's done everything right today. If it wasn't for that restart violation by Noah Gragson earlier, this race would have perhaps been a little bit anticlimactic. And so Gragson has made this thing very exciting. You know, he is from Las Vegas, Nevada, so he's made this thing into a show. And after we're done, we'll have to have some dinner with him too. We'll have dinner and a show with Noah Gragson because he really has made this thing worth the price of admission today.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think I'm going to be grabbing any dinner with Noah anytime soon. But definitely has made this race very, very exciting.
So you're going to be more in the Cole Custer camp, I think.
Definitely in the Cole Custer camp.
Yeah, we've talked about Gragson probably made some friends on his way through the field today, but that's what he had to do. There was no alternative, and I think most of these drivers probably would have done the same because we are on that win it or wear it attitude for most of your front-running cars. It comes down to they're here for one reason only, to win, and also to gain a little bit of experience for tomorrow as well. So we'll see if they can get these cars lined up on this go-around. They did pick up the 18, and hopefully, unlike with the 08 of Travis Milburn earlier, that they choose to take the 18 the other way and just take him straight through, and that's what it looks like they are, taking him down the hill. So he's not going to go all 2.52 miles like Travis Milburn did earlier. So that'll be good, and we'll be able to get this thing back underway. Hopefully the next go around here in the Procore 200. Hope everyone is enjoying themselves. Of course, we are having a ton of fun here at the TV compound, and we are pretty eager to see who's going to win this thing because anybody within that top 5 or 6 has a real good opportunity to win this.
Yeah, they do, and it's been such a crazy restarts up to this point. We've seen pretty much every lane work and every driver make it work once or twice, so it's definitely been back and forth all day.
So the lights are still on, but we have not seen those lights be extinguished until the bottom of the hill. So we will wait and see if they choose to do that. Like we said, a revert back to the previous lap, so it's basically the way they restarted. Just kind of a deja vu. It's as if it never happened. So it'll be Ryan Preece, Daniel Hemrick, Noah Gragson. It's almost more of a throwback to before we had the computerized scoring and the way things had to be back before there were loops. So we're kind of spoiled that we're able to keep track that way. Back in the day when you were hand scoring these races with a pen and paper, the only thing you were writing down was how they crossed the line.
Yeah, and I was at a dirt track a few weeks ago that didn't have transponders, and we raced back to the line every caution. So it was definitely, they didn't care if there was a wreck on the front stretch. You had to race back to the line.
Old school.
Yeah, it was definitely a little eye-opener for me. It was wild.
Yeah, it's dirt tracks. You got dust in your eyes, and you can't see anyway, and then there's a car sideways in the middle of the racetrack. That sounds awfully exciting. You probably put some hair on your chest in that one.
Yeah, luckily we never had to, but once. So, and the wreck was on the back stretch, so it was definitely pretty wild. See the lights off on the pace car here, so we'll see if we can finish this one off. There'll be again 2 to go at the line when we take the green here. Just feel like I keep repeating myself. We got Ryan Preece who's gonna restart back where he has and try to mess up Daniel Hemrick, who got a great restart last time. So hopefully we can finish this one off and finish it off in style.
Yep, hopefully we can go clean and green all the way as it's Ryan Preece, Daniel Hemrick try it again. Hemrick was so perfect on that previous attempt. Remember, Preece is the leader from driver's right in that number 47 car. And we saw when they were coming up to the line the last time that Preece was sort of looking over to his left, trying to judge where the 50 car was. So we'll see if he does that again, or if he just puts his head down and focuses forward and tries to get off the line a little bit better. A little bit of damage on the left rear of the 3 car of Austin Dillon, but that won't affect you now. It's time to go here in the Procore 200. Drivers get speed, those general tires. We've been very complimentary of the tires because truthfully, with the amount of debris that can get on the racetrack in a road course event, we haven't seen anybody with tire trouble. So it's been a pretty clean event so far here at Sonoma Raceway. All right, pace car is going to dip off. We have about 24 cars still running in this K&N Pro Series West race. This is critical for your front row, and we see the green.
That was a great restart by Ryan Priest.
Way better than the previous go-around. He fixed it, and now it's a battle for third between Gregson and the 3-car Boston Dillon. This has been Calamity Corner, and it is again as Pedroncelli was completely sideways, collects Derek Kraus. Heartbreaker for Derek Kraus. Matt Levine's in the middle of the dirt as well. The 5150 car of Carlos Vieira is in there. And while they're doing that, Noah Gregson going up the inside of Hemrick. Gregson up the inside of Hemrick. Just a little bit of contact there down the hill. Hemrick fights him off for now. You can see how aggressive Gregson is being on Daniel Hemrick. Up his back bumper and kind of a short track style bump and run on the exit. And it's go time for Noah Gregson.
Yeah, Daniel Hemrick probably won't like that, but Ryan Priest has stretched it out maybe a little bit too far for Gregson, but I would not put anything past that car right now.
Yeah, it's doable, but he's still got to deal with Hemrick, who gives him the return the favor move, and Will Rogers tries to capitalize on that. That could be what undoes Gregson's run to the front, because now he has to get Hemrick again. And the gap is growing, but Hemrick makes a mistake. It's a couple of times he's made mistakes. Makes a mistake there, opens it up, and Kraus goes flying off the racetrack in the S's for his second incident just on this lap. And hopefully he can refire. He does. We still see green lights on, and there is racing all over the Sonoma Raceway.
Third through fifth here. Now they're racing pretty hard. It's just going to be up to Noah if he can close that gap on Ryan Priest. It is a big gap, so without a...
Carlos Vieira just nosed into the wall through turn 10 head on.
Wait, hang on. Did you see that? The flagman black flagged Ryan Priest going through the front stretch there, maybe for jumping the restart like what we saw with Noah Gregson.
Well, we've seen that before. In fact, 2014 at Kern County, they displayed a black flag to Greg Pursley, and that gave the Sunrise Ford of Dylan Lupton the victory there. And could we be having deja vu? That's the same way they called that, was with a black flag displayed to the leader and a checkered flag to the second place car. And we have no intel on race control. We're just gonna have to see the flags with you at home. But if that's the case, if they can even make it to the finish,
there's carnage all over.
Somewhere in that dirt, as we see the yellow lights are on, somewhere in that dust and debris is Jagger Jones, and he has pulled away from there. But the order is about as topsy-turvy as you can believe, and they have gone to a full course caution here at Sonoma Raceway.
I'm about 100% sure that I saw Ryan Priest get black flag there, which could give it back to Noah. Noah earlier in this race, if you didn't catch it, he had control of the race, has the fastest car, but jumped a restart on Ryan Priest and had to go to the back. But
they did ding him for a restart violation. So the only thing I know is that I don't know a whole lot of anything right now. Ryan Priest appears to have his window net down. And if that's the case, then he is pretty frustrated about what's transpired, and that does appear to be the case. As they're hitting each other under yellow deeper in the order, there's Carlos Vieira, who hit the wall nose first. And here's the deal. Jagger Jones in that 6 car is in the points hunt. The number 1 of Jim Englebright, points are of no consequence. And as they play it out here, they're trying to give you a preview of Bowman Gray Stadium a little bit early here from Sonoma, but for Jones, there would be consequences, and so he has to think bigger picture right now and probably not get wrapped up in the number 1 of Englebright, as they're taking the IndyCar hairpin to go around the 5150 entry of Carlos Vieira, and I'm sure he's feeling the ill effects. We are seeing the yellow and the checker and a black flag. And we do believe that Noah Gregson has persevered over it all and perhaps won this race in unbelievable circumstances. He lost the lead from a restart violation, and he may have just won the Procore 200 from a restart violation.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Noah won there. 47. Obviously, looking back on it, didn't have to jump that restart, but there was a lot of carnage going on there. So hats off to Noah. He drove a great race, had a really fast car, and obviously did not make too many friends on the way up there, but at the end of the day, he won the race.
And they're telling us via a text message from some of our folks in Charlotte, North Carolina, that Noah Gregson is the unofficial winner of this event. And I'm sure he'll show us some of his experience from the National Series and show off some of his car control and give us a big burnout to celebrate after a hard-earned victory. Look at all the dirt and debris that's been spread across the racetrack. But the race fans here at Sonoma Raceway, as they are still arguing over positions there between Jagger Jones and Englebright, the driver out of Fairfield, California, only about 20 minutes from here. And everything that could happen in a stock car race has happened. And now Noah Gregson lowers the window net and puts the number 1 out the window. He knows it, that he has won the Pro Core 200 for the K&N West, his first Sonoma victory after being second here in 2016.
Yeah, it's a really crazy race. Like I said, there was so much that happened there, so many things that went on and different plays. We didn't have all the information here, but we made the best out of it.
Yeah, no, I think we saw what we needed to see was the checkered flag and who it was being displayed to. And there's a very happy customer there, the driver out of Las Vegas, Nevada. And he's got nothing to race for tomorrow in the Cup Series like a lot of you guys do. So this is what he was here for. This was objective number 1, was to be here for the K&N race. And definitely a successful day for the Jefferson Pitts Racing team. Very glad to see that team out of Washington return back to victory lane. They've been well overdue for that, going up against the big dogs from Bill McNally Racing and Sunrise Ford, and they brought in some strong drivers who delivered for them here today.
I'm gonna tell you what, the 7, he used that car up. They're definitely gonna have to put a new body on it after the race, but normally the crew guys don't complain too much if you bring it home in victory lane, what it looks like.
So Noah Gregson's going to come around, and we're going to stay live for just a moment here, race fans, on Fans Choice TV, because we kind of want to see how he's going to celebrate and see him kind of do that stuff as he is pulling over into that IndyCar section of the track to celebrate. He's got the number 1, and obviously he's got to be mindful of all that stuff going on down there in turns 10 and 11 with Vieira. And I think the rest of the field's going to be led into the pits. And I think he's asking for the checkered flag, and he earned it today here in Sonoma. It's always an awesome feeling, right, when you get that checkered flag in a NASCAR national or regional touring race, and awesome to get to do it here from Sonoma in the wine country. I think he's got enough fuel left and enough tires left to do something big here. So far, he's doing just a pretty standard celebration. You know, he does carry car number 7, and Alan Kowicki, who was always number 7, always did a pretty standard celebratory move. So taking that well-deserved victory lap from Noah Gregson.
Yeah, normally he climbs the fence, but I don't see any catch fences anywhere close. He would have to hike a good bit to find a catch fence for him to climb.
So we'll see if, oh yeah, there he goes. He's starting to celebrate now in the place where he made most of his big moves, right there at the top of the hill. And so he decides to take it down to the NASCAR chute from the old days of the NASCAR stuff. We're back where it should be on the full 2.52 mile layout. And now he's getting ready to figure out where he's going. He's taking the Ron J line up there off the racetrack.
Yeah, maybe he's lost.
I think he is. I think he forgot to turn there.
Takes down a cone.
Well, that's going to be on Twitter.
Little souvenir. It's still underneath the car.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
That's going to be on Twitter. Somebody's got to record that. The orange cone is under Gregson's car.
Sonoma Raceway will bill him for that.
Maybe he planned for that. Maybe he wanted to bring him to victory lane with him.
Maybe.
Now, it looks to me like Noah Gregson would do a great job in a modified on dirt, because he's got that thing pretty sideways.
Yeah, he definitely got some great car control there, taking her sideways. But the 36 car here, he had a rough day. Plenty of up and down for him. So that was such a crazy race.
Let's do an unofficial rundown. We believe they're going to slide that 47 of Ryan Preece to the bottom of the lead lap cars So your race winner would be Noah Gregson, ahead of Daniel Hemrick, Austin Dillon, Cole Custer, and David Mayhew, followed by Trevor Huddleston, Will Rogers, Jim Ingham Wright, Jagger Jones, Haley Deegan, Dave Smith, Tim Spurgeon, Paul Pedroncelli, Matt Levine, Cody Vanderwall, Jack Wood, Takuma Koga. Rich DeLong III is listed as a lead lap finisher. Great effort for him. Derek Kraus also on the lead lap. And rounding out your top 20, all lead lap cars unofficially, will be the 47 of Ryan Preece. The rest of the order was multiple laps down. 21st for Carlos Vieira, the 18 of Billy Kahn, the 36 of Ron J out of Canada, as we see Noah Gregson climbing on top of the car in front of that big grandstand in turn 7. Wallace Allen credited with 24th. Then the local driver Rod Nealon was 25th. Dale Quarterly never returned to the race. He was credited with 26th. 27th for Todd Souza. 28th for Austin Thom, 29th for Brittany Zamora, tough day for her point season. 30th for Hollis Shane Thackeray. 31st, Travis Milburn, another tough day for him. And rounding out this field in 32nd was John Wood, who did not have any laps scored complete. Noah was just trying to find a fence.
Yeah, he had to hike a good bit. Came encounter with a fan there. The tradition lives on.
The tradition lives on, climbing the fence, and some post-race stuff going on pit road with Derek Kraus and with Trevor Huddleston. And with that, we're going to leave you here from Sonoma Raceway. On behalf of Justin Haley and all of us at Fans Choice TV, I'm Stephen Blakesley. Thank you for tuning in to the NASCAR K&N Pro Series West from Sonoma Raceway. Your winner of the Procore 200 is Noah Gregson. Stay tuned to Fans Choice TV for some great racing tonight from Bowman Gray Stadium, the Madhouse, and all the great NASCAR home tracks racing. Once again, congratulations to Noah Gregson.